17-year-old Victoria Dumas is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Michael Denson, for bills and damage to her apartment. Victoria says she kicked him out after he came home drunk from a strip club.
All rise.
Now, this is case number 3 on the calendar in the matter of Dumas versus Denson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Dumas, the defendant was your former boyfriend.
Yes.
According to your complaints, he came home one evening and he was drunk and he trashed your apartment, destroyed some of your electronics. In addition, you claim that the utilities were in his name, and after you had him evicted from the apartment, he had the utilities turned off, and it cost you several $100s to put the utilities back on. You think he should be responsible for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Dennison says that it was not he who trashed your apartment, but you were so furious you threw a hissy fit when he came home and you trashed your own apartment.
That's incorrect.
And he also says that he's not paying for any utilities because he wasn't there. Right?
Right.
When did this happen, Ms. Dumas?
Approximately the morning of January 4th, 2006, around 4 in the morning.
How long had you been together prior to that?
About a year.
Where were you that evening, sir?
I had went out with her sister's friend to the strip club. And when I came home...
A male friend or a female?
Male. And when I came home...
Did she know you were going to a strip club?
No.
No.
But I told her when I came back.
Where did you tell her you were going?
I ain't tell her I was going anywhere. I felt like I ain't had to tell her.
Well, you were together for a year. You mean you just left?
I just left. I just wanted to leave. I wanted to go have some fun, so I went to go have some fun. I came back, and she was mad, you know.
What time did you get home?
Around 3:30, 3:40.
That's
incorrect. I'm not talking to you yet. Got home around 3:30. Who drove home?
Her sister's friend.
Did you call him to go out, or did he call you?
No, he came over. He came over. We was all having fun for the night. We was just kicking and having fun.
Who is all?
It was me, her sister, and Dre.
So there were 4 of you, and just the guys decided to go out? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
No, try yes.
Yes. I asked him, let's go out to the strip club. He said, let's go. So I said, let's go.
Didn't they object when you were going out?
No, they didn't even know we left.
You mean they were in the kitchen doing something, and when you...
No, they was in the back room talking, doing a girl thing, so we left. And when we came back, you know, I told her where we went.
Came back. Tell me exactly what happened, Mr. Denson. You walk in the door 3:30 in the morning. She's waiting up for you.
Yeah, we walk in the door. We walk in the door.
Go back. Back. It's 3:30 in the morning. You walk in. She's waiting up for you.
Yes.
See? Isn't that better?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I get home. She's in the back. She's laying in the bed, so I come back there, you know, I take off my clothes and everything. I get in the bed, you know, and I lay next to her. She say, where you been at? I'm like, I went to the strip club. She said, if you wanted a stripper, I could strip for you, this, that, and the other. So I'm like, I'm not trying to argue with you tonight, you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and go lay down. So about 5-10 minutes later, she come back in the room.
So she left?
Yeah, she left the room. By that time, you know, I'm passed out on my way to sleep. So 5 or 10 minutes later, she come back in the room. She hit me in the head with a pot. The first time she hit me in the head with a pot, I'm thinking I'm dreaming. But the second time she hit me, I wake up in shock, you know. And you know, I'm like, what is you doing? I'm like, you got a serious problem, you know. So I'm pushing her away from me. You know, she's trying to.
Mr. Denson, just my own curiosity. What kind of pot was it?
Like a steel pot. Just, you know, cook anything.
Did she hit you hard?
Yeah, she hit me hard, real hard. The first time I thought I was dreaming like I told you before, and the second time she hit me, I woke up in shock. I pushed her away from me. You know, she fighting at me, she trying to fight back.
Lord.
So I pushed her away from me. So she grabbed the rack of dishes, she slammed them on the ground, she slammed all the dishes.
Well, just a second, but you're in the bedroom. Where'd she get dishes from?
I'm pushing her towards the kitchen. This is when we get towards the kitchen.
Just a second, let's go slowly, Mr. Denson. So she hits you on the head with the pot, you jump out of the bed.
While I was pushing her away from me and she was coming towards me, that was during in the hallway going towards the kitchen.
Okay.
So she grabbed the dishes, she slammed the dishes down. So
put your hand down.
A couple dishes break. Next thing I know, she throwing glasses, plates, everything. I'm running around. I'm dodging cups, dishes, plates. You know, she cut me on my hand. My hand, you know, bleeding. I threw the telephone at her. You know what I mean? So
you threw the telephone at her?
Yeah. So
okay.
I felt like it was about to get real ugly, so I left. I went to the police station, and about 20 minutes later, they lock and arrest me up. I guess she had called the police, and they said I was the perpetrator. So,
Did anything happen with that arrest?
yeah, we went through the courts and everything.
And what happened?
I got probation for a year. Now I got to go through all these programs.
Just a second. Were you found guilty?
I pled no contest.
So you pled no contest. Okay, now I want you to tell me your version of what happened on that date, madam.
Me and my sister were in the back. I was putting my 5-month-old daughter to sleep. We were in the back talking. He put them out.
Listen to me. Get to 3:30 in the morning when he comes home.
He didn't come home at 3:30. He came home at about 4 o'clock, 4:30.
All right. Get to 4 o'clock.
He comes in, he's drunk, he's crawling through the door, he could just barely stand up. So he got undressed, he wanted to lay down in the bed and have intercourse. I asked him, where were you at? He said, oh, it's not none of your business where I was at, and I went out, this, that, and the third, and he was drunk and falling all off the bed. I said, okay, well, you can go sleep on the couch, because you're not sleeping in my queen-size bed after you just left without telling me anything.
Absolutely right.
So he gets mad, he's laying all on me, touching me and everything. I tell him, don't touch me, get out my room. He says, oh, whatever, oh, really? And, oh, you just acting like that because you're the one cheating. And, you know, usually the accuser is the cheater. So he's telling me, oh, I want to have intercourse. Oh, you don't give me any because you're the one cheating, blah, blah, blah. I tell him, get out the room. He mugs me in the back of my head. He wants to argue. I'm like, don't touch me. Don't put your hands on me because I will call the police. He like, oh, yeah, call the police. What they going to do to me? Oh, whatever, for real, for real. So he, you know, he's picking with me, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm about to roll over, go to sleep. Don't touch me again, or it's going to get ugly. And I did say that. He said, okay, so I roll over. He constantly arguing. We arguing for about 15 minutes. I stopped talking. I didn't say anything else. He touches me again, pulls my hair. I'm like, okay. I get up, I slap him. I stand up, I told him, get out my house, leave. We can keep it right here where it's at. Don't touch me again, just leave, and we'll talk in the morning. He pushes me down on the bed. We start fighting, we slap boxing each other, we tossing each other around the room. I get up, I'm like, you know what, I'ma leave. I'ma be the bigger person, I'ma leave.
That's what you should have done. Listen to me. That's what you should have done a half hour ago. Half hour ago. You're trying to deal rationally with somebody that crawled through the door. You're trying to deal rationally with them? What is wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Then you got up and you trashed the apartment. You got crazed.
I didn't trash the apartment.
Listen to me. Somebody came and hit me with a frying pan. I would react.
And later today,
Did give her the money, of course, because our daughter's safety was at hand.
Why didn't you move out?
There was a lot of things that were going on that I couldn't just move out.
Victoria Dumas says ex-boyfriend Michael Denson owes for unpaid bills and for tearing up her apartment. Michael claims Victoria hit him in the head with a metal pot.
So then you decide to leave the bed. So you left the bed. Go ahead.
I go and I'm walking down the hallway. He's following me.
When did you get the pot?
That was almost 40 minutes later. So he completely lied about that.
She 40 minutes
That was
lying.
40 minutes later.
Don't speak.
He follows me down the hall. I'm telling him, stay in there. I'm not trying to fight you. We're not about to fight. Go back in there. Don't touch me again. Just go in there. I'm going to leave and go in the living room. I'll sleep on the couch. He's following me, slapping me upside my head, pulling my hair, dragging me down the hallway, trying to fight. Mind you, while this is going on, my sister and her ex-boyfriend were in the living room talking. They thought we were just arguing until I came in there. I'm like, you know what, forget it. This is the bottom line. I'm calling the police. I pick up the phone right in front of them. Before I can even dial 9, he snatches the cord out the wall, grabs the phone, and throws it at my face. I'm telling him, like, you're drunk. You don't know what you're doing. Just please leave, please. I'm pleading him, can you just get out? He refuses. He wants to fight. So he's walking around, he picks up my stereo, bashes that on the floor, throws the speakers, picks the phone back up, throws it back at me. I pick it up, throw it back at him. We were just running around the house, and he was flipping over tables, picked up my brand new dining room chairs, busted them up against the wall. This is when I got ready to grab the pot, because he went in the kitchen after he broke 3 dining room chairs. He goes in there and throws the dishes in the sink. China dishes, they fall all out the sink, break on the ground. I grabbed a beer bottle and I threatened him with it. I didn't hit him with it, but I threatened him with it just so he could be intimidated. I asked him, can you please leave, because I don't want to have to hit you with this. So he's like, no, and he mugs me. I'm like, put your hands on me again, I'm going to hit you. He mugs me again, picks me up, and throws me, and I slide up against the coffee
you're making
table.
up some of this as you're going along.
No,
you know,
I'm
you're
not.
making up some of it as you're going along.
I'm
Let's
not,
go.
Anna.
Get to the pot.
Not the truth.
I go in the kitchen, grab the pot. I told him, hit me again, I'm going to hit you with this. He slaps me again. I run up on him. I hit him in the head twice with the pan. Then he stood up after he fell to the ground. He hit me twice in my face, slapped me, and then he dragged me by my hair across the floor. We were fighting on the couch. There was glass everywhere. There was glass, beer bottles broken, and it was a mess.
I think you did some of it yourself. What do you think of that?
I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Now, I did break a couple of glasses.
Okay. You're telling me that you composed yourself up until that time?
Yes.
Come on. Get over it. I mean,
Verbally, I
nobody's
wasn't.
excusing, listen, Ms. Dumas, nobody's excusing his behavior. He behaved very badly that night. Isn't that right, sir?
I didn't behave bad.
Yes, you did. You behaved badly from the time you left. You walked out of the house without telling the woman that you were living with where you were going. And then coming back at 4 o'clock in the morning drunk, according to you, is behaving badly. You don't think that's behaving badly?
No, I don't think it was behaving badly. I wasn't bothering nobody.
Mr. Denson, I don't get emotionally involved with litigants, but I must tell you, in all fairness, I don't like you. I don't like you because I don't think that you understand that it is not responsible to walk out of a house at 11, 12 o'clock at night and go to a strip club and expect the woman that you're living with and sharing a bed with and sharing a life with to accept that because you want to have a good time. That's being a big baby. How old are you?
She didn't left.
I'm speaking.
I'm 22.
22. Well, you are a big baby.
She didn't left the house and ain't called for a whole night. Thanksgiving eat.
But he knew where I was.
Shh, just a second. Just a second. That doesn't make her a mature lady, sir. That makes you two immature people playing house. But I'm telling you, in this instance, I don't think that you behaved like a nice person. That doesn't mean she wasn't the one who left the bed and came back with a pot and hit you over the head. I believe she did that. And I believe that then you got up and you trashed the apartment. You got crazed.
I didn't trash the apartment.
Listen to me. I would too. Somebody came and hit me with a frying pan twice on the head.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I did not hit
Twice
him
on
in the bed.
Twice on the head. I would react. So I believe that she put her hands on you first. There's no question in my mind that you put your hands on him first.
He hit me first. I defended myself.
No, you didn't.
You destroyed your
No,
whole apartment.
shh, you hit him
hit me
first.
first.
Listen to me, Miss Dumas. I listened to your testimony very carefully. You slapped him across the face first. You said he pulled your hair. That's what you
Mugged me.
testified to. He pulled your hair.
Hard.
And then...
Violently.
And then... Violently. Baloney. Miss Dumas, just because ladies feel as if boys shouldn't hit girls doesn't mean that the law recognizes a distinction between men and women. And you cannot expect to hit somebody else, even if they behave badly, and not to have a response. You hit him, and not only did you hit him, but you hit him with the only dangerous instrument that I see in this complaint, which was a pot, which you acknowledge that you hit him on the head with
Yes, I did.
2 times. And I'm absolutely amazed that they did not find that actionable when he went to the police. Absolutely amazed. And what lawyer had him plead no contest to this charge? I don't know where his head was at, but certainly I would have, if I were representing him, have given you a run for your money on that one. So your case is dismissed. If your electronics was destroyed, that's your problem. You got to learn to keep your hands to yourself. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied about everything.
She was throwing the dishes at me, you know.
He completely twisted up the story.
She hit me in the head with the pot.
I mean, you reap what you sow, so he'll get his one day.
I'm a good dude, you know. I ain't a bad person.
Dr. Eric Schoenberg is suing pet shop owner Robert Meyer for selling him 4 diseased turtles. Eric says 3 of the turtles eventually died.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Schoenberg versus Meyer. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Is it Dr. Schoenberg?
Yes.
Are you a physician?
Yes.
Dr. Schoenberg, I read in your complaint that you purchased some turtles from the defendant's pet shop.
Correct.
You purchased them in order to create a habitat for them in your home. I don't know how large they were, but within a relatively short period of time, they got sick and died. You believe that Mr. Meyer is responsible for not only the turtles, but also for the substantial veterinary bills that you had in order to try to treat them for an illness that you say they had when you got them from him. Mr. Meyer says he offered you your money back when he found out that there was a problem, but he's certainly not responsible for these astronomical veterinary bills that were racked up as a result of your desire to treat the animals. How large were these turtles?
Between 4 and 5 inches length of the shell.
And how much did you pay for them?
$17.99 each.
Had you ever had turtles before?
Yes.
What happened to them?
I had them when I was about 10 years old, and I had caught them when I was at camp, and I kept them till I went to college, and then I gave them to the Turtleback Zoo, which was a nearby zoo where I lived in New Jersey.
And they survived?
Never had a problem, no illness, did beautifully.
Did you have had other pets other than turtles?
No.
Really?
Really.
Interesting. Tell me why.
I have a fascination with turtles for a few reasons. One, right now I find them inspiring because it helps me to slow down. They're very graceful in the water, but when they're on land, they're very slow and they just seem very pensive. And I find them very inspiring. They live over 50 years, typically, these turtles. So I think for children, they're nice in that sense that you can really get to know them. And they do have different personalities. They're not all the same. They do take on individual personalities.
Explain that to me.
Well, part of the way we name them is the way they behave. Some are more friendly, some are a little more aggressive. They each take on a little different way about it.
You know, I'm an animal lover, so I don't want you to take this as meaning any disrespect.
Sure.
Are they smart?
Well, I have my veterinarian to attest the fact that they're certainly not dogs or cats, but they do, and certainly...
I mean, there's certain survival instinct that all animals have, so in that regard, they can survive. They look for water, they look for food, so okay. But
they've been around a lot more than we have on this earth. Millions of years.
So have roaches.
That's true. You got me there. But I really believe, and I'm sure if you ask most turtle lovers, they'll agree that they do take on different personalities, and they definitely do have a higher thought process, not as high as a dog, but higher than a roach.
I know that I'll probably get lots of mail about this because there are people that love every creature. In any event, when did you purchase the turtles?
May 27th, Memorial Day weekend, 2006.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And how many turtles did you have in your shop?
8 or 9.
When had you gotten them?
About a week and a half prior to that.
From whom?
It's from a distributor. They're animal distributors. This one in particular was a reptile distributor.
When was the first sign that there was something untoward with the turtles?
Every day after work, I came home and fed them, so they were doing fine until June 5th. I built a large 8 by 12-foot enclosure for them outside, plenty of room to swim and sunbathe, which sunbathing is very important for them. And on June 5th, I went out to feed them, and I saw one of them convulsing in the water. So I immediately took that turtle out of the water, and I tried to find the other turtles, and at the time, I could only find one other. So I took the one that was convulsing plus that turtle, put him in a box, and I tried to call Mr. Meyer, but I could not get a hold of him. But I knew I had to do something quickly, because I know that turtles, if they get sick, it's something is critically wrong.
How do you know that?
Because I know they have a slow metabolism. It takes a while for them to show a problem, and I had them for 7 years, and they never showed any illness, so something like this obviously looked like, I can't mimic the motion, but it was an obvious convulsion.
Okay.
It looked like a seizure almost. And so I scrambled to try to find a veterinarian in my area who specialized in reptiles or hopefully turtles. And fortunately, everybody who I called referred me over to Dr. Burgess's office. That's Dr. Burgess there.
Step up, sir. Dr. Burgess, June 5th, receive a call from Dr. Schoenberg, who ultimately brings over the 2 turtles to you. What do you find?
Well, he sounded pretty urgently concerned, so we had him come in right away. And both turtles had problems. What struck me, however, was the one that he was concerned about, which was Sammy, looked seriously ill. And this turtle, on physical exam, the thing that I noticed mostly was how extremely weak he was. And these are really feisty little turtles. They're not weak animals. And this kid was pretty much flat out. That's the biggest thing that concerned me right off the top. On closer inspection, I noticed something that the average observer probably wouldn't notice, and that was there were a bunch of discolored areas on the underside of the shell, which is typical of shell rot. The average observer might just think that's a normal color pattern because they have kind of blotchy colors anyway. But I was suspicious that it didn't look right, so I grabbed a small metal probe and was probing these areas, and they were soft. So I knew that there was infection dissolving away the underlying bone and shell. The 2 things you want to know about shell rot is, number 1, it's usually easily treated. But it can, if it goes on long enough, get into the bloodstream, the bacteria can. Then they become septic, and then they'll go down quick. They'll convulse, all their organs are infected, and you can actually lose some of those. The second thing about shell rot is you almost never see it unless the turtles are housed in improper situations. In fact, 95% of all reptile cases we see are poor husbandry related. Crowding, dirty water, too cool of temperatures, not enough ultraviolet light. There's a lot of ways that the turtles can be stressed and their immune system falters. Then they become prone to infections from things that a normal turtle would resist.
And how long does that process generally take?
As advanced as this case was, that takes weeks at least to occur, sometimes months. But to dissolve bone and shell away like that to that extent takes a while. And again, on the surface, they were very unimpressive lesions, easily overlooked. In fact, Eric, who was babying these turtles, didn't notice the lesions either until I pointed them out to him. It just is something you have to kind of know to look for. Doing it for 20 years, I knew to look for it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got about 10 turtles from the wholesaler?
That's correct.
Are you under oath, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
How many of them survived?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dr. Eric Schoenberg claims pet shop owner Robert Meyer is responsible for selling him 4 diseased turtles. Eric says 3 of his pets suffered an untimely death.
Now, let me ask you this question, Dr. Burgess. If you had seen these turtles, say, a week before, would they have shown similar signs?
Probably yes. As advanced as these were, there would have been lesions there a week earlier as well.
So they would have been visible to you, for instance, on the 28th of May.
Yes, they should have been.
Now, one of the turtles died when?
The sickest turtle, Sammy, died within 24 hours of us seeing it. I got it on antibiotics, but it just basically went down quick.
And the others?
He had a total of 4, one of which died at home. Of the other 2 that were alive after the first day, the second turtle died about 8 days after we started treating it. And again, this raised alarm bells because we have a high percentage of success rate even with advanced shell rot. And I knew he had them warm enough, he had them in good conditions, they should have been surviving. So we cultured the shell after the second one died and found out that they had 2 species of bacteria there, one of which was particularly difficult to treat. And we ended up having to do double antibiotic therapy for weeks to save the last one, and we actually did manage to save that one. We were using antibiotics by injection in all 4 legs, because you can't inject the shell. And after weeks and weeks of double antibiotic injections, this turtle ended up, unfortunately, with severe damage to both front legs. So essentially, her right front leg is virtually useless. Her left front leg is partially paralyzed. So she's in need of special conditions just to pull herself out of the water. He had to build a ramp down in the water that's at a shallow angle because she can't pull herself out of the water to bask. She does have basically permanent damage, so even though we healed the shell rot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Dr. Schoenberg, when did you finally contact Mr. Mayer, and what did he say when you contacted him?
June 14th was the day the second one died.
Okay.
So it was that day that I finally made contact with him.
How many calls did you make to him?
It was probably about 5. I have the exact phone records.
Did you speak to anyone?
I spoke with a young woman there, and they said he's not around. I'll have him call you. Never a return call.
When was the first time you got a message from him, Mr. Mayer?
It was before the 14th. It was probably the 12th or the 13th. I was probably busy, and I don't know why I didn't get the phone message before the 12th.
When you got it on the 12th, did you call him right back?
I think I probably waited until the 14th and to get a hold of him.
When you sell an animal at your pet shop, Mr. Mayer, do you instruct people, please take the pet to a vet, have it checked out? You know, you give a money-back guarantee if something is wrong within 24 hours or 48 hours. Is that what you do?
We state that we have a 7-day health guarantee, depending, it's 7 to 14, depending on the type of animal. In this particular case, for reptiles, it's 7 days that we guarantee the animal.
Do you have a piece of paper that says that?
No, I got nothing in writing about that.
I didn't give him anything in writing, but it's stated at the time of purchase.
Who states it?
The person selling the turtle. In that
well,
case,
that's
it was
hearsay,
myself.
sir. What you're supposed to do is...
It was myself that sold the turtle to Mr. Schoenberg.
Did you tell him that there was a 7-day
Yes, I
health
did.
guarantee? You remember that?
Yes, I always say that. Whenever I sell an animal, I was the boss, and I employed teenagers, therefore I had to be very consistent with what I did.
But you are not there all the time.
That's correct.
And if you're not there all the time, that means that one of your teenage employees will be selling animals.
That's correct. But by setting precedents and by showing example with myself in the way I do it, and...
What you have to do is put it in writing, Mr. Mayer.
I do have something that's filled out when somebody purchases an animal. In this case, it wasn't done, but in most cases it is.
You have to be consistent and done, Mr. Mayer.
That's correct.
So when you purchase an animal, and if you're giving a 7-day guarantee, then what you have to do is say, you have 7 days, take the animal to the vet, because that's where I'm going with my questions to the doctor, because he's already said that this situation would have presented itself had Mr. Schoenberg taken within 7 days the animals to a vet, had them checked out. He would have seen that there was something wrong with them. He would have had an option of returning them to you, and you would have given him his money back. Or if he chose to treat them, then the vet bill's on him. But if you're not told that you have that option of bringing it back, why aren't you responsible? And then you proceed, if this kind of situation, Mr. Mayer, comes from the wholesaler, not from you, but from the wholesaler, then you sue the wholesaler. While we're on that subject, you got about 10 turtles from the wholesaler?
That's correct.
You're under oath, Mr. Mayer.
Yes.
How many of them survived?
After Mr. Schoenberg got in touch with me, I put a freeze on selling any of the turtles.
What did you do with them?
Well, I just stopped selling them until I
What
heard back.
did you, Mr. Mayer, let's not mince words, sir.
Sure.
What I want to know is what did you do with the other 6 turtles?
I had to close my store at the end of June, and so I adopted the rest of the turtles out, but all of them were alive.
All of them were alive when you
Yes.
adopted them out?
Yes.
Dr. Schoenberg, when you called Mr. Mayer and told him that this was a problem with your turtles, did he indicate to you any of the other turtles had a problem?
He didn't make any mention of the other animals. My wife felt like she wanted to adopt them and take care of them because she knew what was going to happen to them, because he indicated that his philosophy on animals, that is, if they become ill, he prefers euthanasia to treatment, even if the disease, as this one was, is completely treatable with antibiotics. This was not a terminal disease.
Mr. Schoenberg stated it incorrectly. That what my philosophy on animals was that he stated that I should that euthanasia is the key. If it's deemed that it's more of a business decision in my case, that if the animal is going to cost $700 or $1,000 to fix, and it's a $17.99 turtle, I can't stay in business and do that. And so I would not want to, but have to euthanize the turtles.
Dr. Schoenberg, Mr. Mayer says that he got these pets about a week and a half before you purchased them. Your expert says that this particular kind of disease, to have advanced to this point, can sometimes take months. Is that right, sir?
Usually weeks, occasionally months, yeah.
Well, Dr. Burgess, let's step up for one more second, sir. I'm going to pin you down.
Okay.
Sometimes it can take months.
Yes.
And sometimes it can take weeks.
Yes.
Could it take 1 week?
Not as advanced as this was.
When you saw the 4th turtle, was it ill?
Yes.
And you could tell right away?
From the shell, yes.
But when you saw the first turtle that was so ill, you couldn't tell from the outside that there was a very severe strain of bacteria that required a different kind of antibiotic.
Not just at a glance, nobody can tell.
Dr. Schoenberg, you went to the pet store and saw the habitat where they were living.
Yes.
And I must assume that as an intelligent and medically trained person, you would not have purchased these turtles were the habitat conditions unclean, unsanitary, looking unhealthy. They looked fine to you.
They looked adequate to me.
No. Let's not play. They looked fine to you, or you would not have purchased them and then invested in the habitat. Come on, let's not play.
Absolutely right.
Okay. Now, I would assume that you could not tell when you took the turtles home, at least from the 27th of May, according to you, until June 5th, that there was anything wrong with these turtles.
Correct.
Why do you ascribe something more to Mr. Meyer?
I have records here from animal control that show that there was a lot going on in his pet store that I didn't know about. And if you would like to see those documents, I'd be happy to share them with you, that show the kind of conditions that were there that perhaps I didn't see that day. I just was focused on turtles, and I went right in.
I'm just interested in turtles.
Yes.
I'm not interested in whether he's a good husband, a bad father, a good son, a good nephew, whether he does other things. You saw the turtles.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't take the turtles out at night and put them in the toilet. He left them in the same conditions that you saw them in.
I don't know that.
Which were clean conditions. Well, he doesn't look like a nut. And nuts would have taken them out of a clean condition and put them in a dirty condition. For what purpose? That sounds ridiculous. So let's see what we have, Dr. Schoenberg. We have a medically trained man, buys the turtles, looks as if they're being kept and maintained in a perfectly adequate habitat. You don't see anything wrong with them. No signs of illness. According to you, they were playful and they were eating, appeared perfectly normal. So you are really asking him not to give you back the money for these turtles. You believe he is responsible for the veterinary bills, which were $2,200.
Actually, the veterinary bills were $1,400. The other amount of money is to get special housing for the turtle inside to take care of her since she's handicapped. Otherwise, I would have
Well,
housed
that's
her.
another decision that you made, Dr. Schoenberg. You made that decision. Certainly, if you were a Darwinist, you would have said, maybe this little turtle, unfortunately, doesn't want to live for the next 50 years, having to pull herself out of the water because she's paralyzed in one leg and partially paralyzed in another. That's a decision that you made, and I can't fault you for that decision, but you can't visit that on Mr. Mayer. I mean, I'm an animal lover, and I would, quite frankly, love to look at Mr. Mayer and paint him as the devil if he sold animals that he knew were ill. But I guarantee you, Mr. Mayer is not an expert in turtles. Am I correct?
That's correct.
That's a very limited interest base. Dr. Burgess, what was your initial visit for the sick turtle?
It would have been probably 150 at most, I would think. And
150?
that was for two turtles.
And for the two turtles. And then he brought you a third one.
Yeah.
And a fourth one.
Fourth one had died on the premises. I never saw the fourth one.
You saw 3. You saved 1.
Yes.
3 died. Anything you want to say to me, Mr. Meyer?
I'm an animal lover myself, and I'm sorry for the turtles that have died, but in a business I can't control whether someone goes outside of my vision and treats an animal.
Mr. Mayor, if I had any inkling that you had prior knowledge that these turtles were ill when you sold them, my decision here would have been totally different. But I think that Dr. Schoenberg, with his medical expertise and his expertise in these particular kinds of reptiles, if he couldn't tell that there was anything wrong with them for at least 10 days, then I can't fault you. But you are responsible for the initial visits for pets. That's $150 each. That's $300. And the cost of them are $54. Yes.
I'd like to say that I got these animal control records. There were 17 complaints. One of them was that he housed different reptiles together. So there's every indication that there was definitely animal neglect on his part, indicating that he was not treating the animals humanely, including reptiles. And now if you house reptiles, turtles with lizards, or mixing
Did
them
you
up.
see the turtles housed with lizards?
I didn't, but he could have done it when I wasn't there.
Well, Dr. Schoenberg, doesn't sound right to me. Doesn't sound like it's common sense that you have a habitat for lizards and you have a habitat for turtles. And after everybody leaves the store, you take the time to put them all together in an unsanitary condition. That doesn't make sense, Dr. Schoenberg. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $354. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
I think really the big picture of this case was not about the money. It was about the principle that an animal is a precious life.
I think Mr. Schoenberg had expectations that were beyond what is reasonable.
This was not a terminal illness. This was an infection that clearly could have been treated with some simple antibiotics.
I'm an animal lover. All of the animals that were in my care were under good care.
These animals were worth saving. Turtles, I know, maybe are not dogs to most people, but to me they're very precious.
That was the reason I got into the business in the first place, was because I did love animals.
It's buyer beware, and perhaps, you should do a background check when you're purchasing animals.
Just keep records of the people who purchase animals and make sure that they have signed statements.
I kind of had trust that if the store was open and left open by the government, that it was considered safe and clean, but I guess not.
7-year-old Amanda Ahrens is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 26-year-old Christopher Essman, for several loans and for half the cost of their eviction fees.
That's case number 291 on the calendar in the matter of Ahrens versus Essman. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Ahrens, the defendant used to be your boyfriend and you lived together for a short period of time. Short but eventful.
Yes.
And it is your claim that you were evicted from your apartment because of his actions. You paid for half of the eviction fees, but since you claim that the turmoil that resulted in your eviction was caused by him, he should pay your half. Right. You also claim to have made 2 small loans for him while he was going through some domestic situation with his former wife involving his son. Also some nonsense about a couple of things that he took from the apartment, but I'm really totally disinterested in that, so let's not bother with that. Let's deal with the big stuff.
Okay.
Okay? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Good. Let's start out with the loans. How long were you living together before you loaned him money?
We had just moved into a 2-bedroom apartment at the end of June.
June of 2005?
Yes.
Okay.
And in that same month of June is when he found out that he was ordered to a collection agency for a dentist bill. It was $1,900.
Dentist bill for whom, sir?
That was my son. He had dentistry work. His mom took him in to have dentistry work, and I believe she was responsible for the bill, but I found out later she hadn't paid it. So because he had my last name, I was sent to collections for it.
How much money did you give him at that time?
$1,000. He paid $952 of it, and I paid $1,000 of it.
So let's hear about this first $1,000, Mr. Essman.
It was came out of our joint account that we had shared together. We had a joint checking account.
How long had you had a joint account?
We'd had it for a month or 2.
1 month.
Yeah, I'd say 1 month.
Okay.
We had it since...
Shh.
Okay.
How much money did you put in the account?
1 month, I'd say $3,500.
And how much money did you put into that account?
I put every one of my paychecks into it from the time of June. I was making twice as much as he was. $3,500 is an exaggeration. I don't have an
Really?
exact...
Well, we can always check his tax returns. How much did you earn annually, sir?
Every year I've made $50,000, $60,000 since 2001.
Okay, and you're paid by check?
Yeah.
How much money do you say he put into the account?
In between $100 to $400 a week. So I don't know how that equals $3,500.
I don't either.
I made a lot more than I made $1,000 a week at one job. I went unemployed for 3 weeks and I had another job.
That
Can I see that?
These are all bank statements showing. I have all of his paychecks documented, CLE. Paychecks.
Oh, good. Oh, I just want to see.
And then
I just
these are
want
the
to
big bills right
Listen,
on top here.
I don't give me big bills.
Okay.
I just want to see his pay stubs, say for the month of May and June. You have those? Show them
that's
to
the
me.
whole
Don't give me
year.
the whole.
Can I
at
have
my
that?
age, I can't look at all those things. Just give me what I need, please.
475 in June, on 6/24, 9/12, on 7/1, 867.
That's July. What else do you have?
Those are the only ones I have for June because he was fired at the end of June for stealing gas.
Okay.
He was unemployed for 2 months.
What was the next amount of money that you had to advance to him?
Well, then I advanced him the $1,000 for the collection agency for his son, and then he had to pay $1,000 for a lawyer. He was going through a custody battle with his son. He paid the first $1,000 down payment, and then I paid a $422.35 and a $421.47.
When you say, Ms. Ahern, that he paid the $900 for the dental bill and you paid the $1,000, where did he get the $900 from?
That was from his paycheck, but he couldn't pay the whole thing.
Just a minute. So he took that out of his paycheck. And would you tell me how it came about that you put in the other $1,000?
His account was being overdrawn. He didn't have enough money in his account from all of his paychecks to pay the things that he was buying and then also pay for.
Did he have his own bank account in addition to the joint one that you had together?
Up until June. The time that we moved in together, we combined our joint checking account and combined our money. And, you know, I made more money. I chalked that up to, okay, I paid the bills, I paid everything. But these specific things were for his son, and we made an agreement that he would pay me back for those specific things.
When did you make that agreement?
During that month of July, when he had to pay those things. He was fired, and we were under the agreement that when he got a job again that he would help me make payments. But when he got that job, his money had to go for other things.
So you let it go?
Well, I kind of still was in hopes that I would get reimbursed, like promised.
Why are you laughing? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. It's laughing is unsatisfactory, sir.
Okay.
She's upset and you're laughing. That is unpleasant.
Okay, but she knew when she got into the relationship I had a son. My expenses were more than hers. We put our money together, assuming that all of our money together would go to all the bills combined.
Yeah, your bills and her bills, but not your kids' bills.
Why not? Why not my kids' bills?
Because she's not responsible for your kid.
Then she shouldn't have got in a relationship with me.
Oh,
That's.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Stop smiling.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Stop smiling.
Okay.
Stop smiling. By the way, don't ever get a joint bank account with somebody that you're not married to. Even when you're married.
Lesson learned.
You can keep your own. For sure. Listen out there in television land. Don't open up a joint bank account with somebody. You want to know why women do that? Women do that because it makes them feel like they're nesting.
Right, exactly.
Like they're creating a home with someone.
Exactly.
Men usually do that because they're going to take advantage of them. Just the way it works out. Because I guarantee you that if you had 3 children and he was making twice as much money as you were, he would not put in all of his money so that you could support your children with it. It only usually works one way. It's just the way life is. Be smart. Okay?
Yes.
Mr. Essman, when you open up a joint bank account with someone with whom you are living, and even though salaries aren't always the same, sir, one presupposes that those joint bills will be paid out of a joint account. Your kid's dental work doesn't fall under that category. The fact that you and your ex-wife were embarked upon a custody dispute, whether it involved custody, visitation, or child support, has nothing to do with the joint bills that you and Miss Ahrens had together. Your food, your electric, your cable, your washing and drying, your rent, but not your kid's teeth. Your kid's teeth are your problem and his mother's problem. We understand each other? Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who is this?
My mother. She came in
You
and saw
must
the
have been
damage.
praying really, really good, because but for the grace of God, she could have married him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
And later today,
You're never going to outsmart me, and there's a very good reason for that. Do you know what the reason is?
No, ma'am.
Think about it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amanda Ahrens says ex-boyfriend Christopher Essman owes for loans and eviction fees. Amanda claims Christopher's temper caused them to be kicked out of their apartment.
All right, now let's get to the evening that caused the eviction. You want to tell me what happened?
Yeah, we got in an argument because I asked him about a text from his ex-wife, and I could tell he was getting upset, so I wanted to just drop it. He's had tempers in the past before, and I didn't want this to cause a fight, so I said, never mind, let's forget it. He's like, no, let's talk about it. And I said, no, let's just drop it. I got in the shower, locked the bathroom door so I could take a shower. He put his boot through the bathroom door, broke a hole in the bathroom door about this size to reach up and unlock the door. He came in, tore down the shower curtain while I wasn't taking a shower, and cursing, swearing at me. I threatened I was going to call the police, and he said, no, I'm going to call the police instead. Meanwhile, he's ranting and raving, running around the apartment. He banged his head into the closet door, making a huge hole in that. He threw a cell phone at the wall and broke the phone in half. Well, the police came, saw the damage, and they arrested him.
Okay, Mr. Essman, let me hear your version of the events. You say that she's responsible.
It was, she didn't drop it. She pushed me until I lost my temper.
Well, how did she do that, Mr. Essman?
She just kept going on and on and on about how I wasn't sharing the information. Okay, my ex-wife wanted to take my son for the weekend. I said, that's fine. She was mad at me for not letting her know about it. You know, I didn't know it was a big deal. I thought it was between me and my ex-wife. She wanted to do something with her son. It's her son. She has perfect right for it, you know. And she just kept going and going and going about it, how I lied to her and, you know, don't feel her on everything. And she just make it into a big old deal. Well, I lost my temper. I regret.
Tell me what you did to lose your temper.
I don't know. I just...
Did you put your foot through the bathroom door?
Yeah, I did.
Just a second. Now, Mr. Essman, so I want you to listen to me very carefully. What you said was she was going on and on and on and on. She pushed you. But she had removed herself from the situation, sir, when she went into the bathroom and locked the door.
Yes.
Which means that she wasn't pushing you and pushing you and pushing you, sir. She had extricated herself.
But she was still going on and on and on about.
You mean
how
from
I
the
lied to
bathroom?
her.
Just a second. From the bathroom.
Yes.
She was screaming outside while
Yes.
she was taking a shower.
That is
you know how
not true.
you know how ridiculous that sounds?
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous. And if it sounds ridiculous, Mr. Essman, it's because it's not true. You were angry. She may have pushed you and then pushed you to a point, and she said, well, now I'm finished and I'm going in and closed the bathroom door and locked it. That I believe. But you weren't finished yet.
No.
You were still angry.
Because she...
Listen to me. You were still... I get it.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
No, and I'm paying for it. I'm still paying for it now.
Well,
so I've had
after
to pay
this
for it.
happened, sir, were you evicted from the apartment?
Yes.
Well, if you were evicted from the apartment, that's your fault.
Well, we wouldn't have been, but she went down there and decided she could have stayed in the apartment.
And who was going to pay the rent?
Well, she made more money than me.
Just a second. What difference does that make?
Well, I'm saying that she didn't make no more money than me. She couldn't afford to stay there by herself.
Well, if that's what you're saying to me, you said she makes more money. Now you're saying neither of you could have afforded to stay in the apartment by yourself. So the reason you were evicted is
because of the damage I caused.
That's correct. So why should she have any responsibility with regard to the breaking of the lease?
Because she started the whole fight. Yeah, I should have walked
asked him a
away.
question.
Just a second. Who is this?
My mother. She came in
You
and saw
must
the
have been
damage.
praying really, really good, because but for the grace of God, she could have married him.
Oh, my.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Do you hear?
There are miracles.
There are miracles. This one was a cheap one. This was a cheap miracle, so you must have been praying really good. How much was half of the eviction?
$917.50.
Did you pay that?
Yes.
Good. You're going to pay hers, too. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $27.17. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It started off fiery and fast, and it ended just as quickly as it started.
Just egging me on, not filling her in on everything.
Made a wrong choice in the guy that I thought I liked.
21-year-old Ryan Lapp is suing his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, for medical bills due to an assault. Mark says Ryan had been making harassing phone calls to his friend.
Order. All rise.
Now, it's case number 368 on the calendar in the matter of Lapp versus Childress. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, that's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all. Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is, if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, You and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir? Look at me.
There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
you
the
don't
effect.
remember. So let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number? Do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of 06?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you meet your husband?
In May.
Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice.
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
called the number.
No. Other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make phone calls?
Me?
You!
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there, and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had something against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin.
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there.
I went over there and
look at me, Mr. Childress.
Wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom?
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay.
It's
like do you
a,
remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according to you.
Yeah, I wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover. Yes, when he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up, actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night, then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bed. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah." He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck. I was on medication for about 3 weeks, which caused me
Not going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many times did you hit him?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that.
It was a lot more than 10 or 12. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan.
Suck it up.
And later today,
When was the last time your husband worked full time?
A year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
It's ridiculous not to work when you have 2 children.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Okay, now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Children. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him.
I
It's not
assume
like
the
he just
police-
came
I
in there
assume
just
you
to
called
beat
the
me up.
police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I
Which he
assume the
also threatened
police,
me not to
shh,
do.
quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings,
Yes, Your Honor.
and they did nothing.
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
I have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, maybe you're a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury. And you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever, suck it up. But Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wanted to find out what he was trying to do by tormenting this young 18-year-old girl.
It scared me. It definitely scared me. That's why I said I had pain and suffering, because I couldn't sleep correctly for a couple days after that.
It was just totally immature and unfair for what they did.
Oh, I won't be making prank phone calls. I mean, you live and learn.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Null versus Dietz. Step forward.
Deborah Null is suing former live-in boyfriend Adam Dietz for unpaid rent and bills. Deborah says Adam moved in 2 days after they met.
Ms. Null, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a brief period of time. You met him, according to your complaint, while he was separated from his then-pregnant wife. According to your complaint, you met him, he moved into your home shortly thereafter. You had an agreement with him that he would pay for half of the bills, half the rent on the house, because the house belongs to your mother, and half of the credit card bill that you were using because it was just more convenient. You claim that he moved out months later without paying his obligations. Mr. Dietz says that he acknowledges that he owes you a month's rent, $400. Doesn't owe you any other money. He says he was prohibited from staying at the house after March of this year. So, when did you meet him? What date?
January 12th.
Where?
At a bar.
And when did he move in?
January 14th.
Foolish, right?
Yes.
Foolish.
Very.
Shh. Why did you let him move in 2 days after you met him?
Well, he had told me that he was separated from his wife, and I didn't find out till months later that the day he got my phone number, he went home and moved out and left his wife. I thought he'd been separated for like a long amount of time.
What difference is that? That's not my question. I don't care if he was...
Okay, well, he had told me that he was staying at his father's house, which was an hour and a half away from his work, and I lived close to his work.
That still doesn't tell me why you let him move in 2 days after you met him.
Because I really liked him.
What?
After the initial night, I tried to leave multiple times. She threw a fit. She's been over my dad's house.
Mr. Dietz, why don't you be quiet for a minute?
All right.
Because the statement that you just made to me is ridiculous.
No,
yeah,
it is not,
ridiculous.
Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm telling you it's ridiculous. And I assume you don't want to appear ridiculous. Because while I don't understand why she would allow you to move in 2 days after she met you, I can understand why you would move in. Because
I can go into details, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow you to go into details, sir. It's something that I'm looking forward to with a great deal of expectation. Because I know that you have this peculiar dumb look on your face, you know, this dumb grin on your face. You know, you're not quite sure how things are going to go. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to be a smart aleck, things are not going to go well. Because she may have found you attractive enough to allow you to move into her home 2 days after she met you. I guarantee you one thing, sir. You're not my type.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's better. Now we understand each other, Mr. Dietz. Now, he moved in January 14th, and according to your complaint, you made an arrangement with him at some point to pay some rent.
Yes.
When was that?
It was February 15th.
Okay, so he lived there for a month, rent-free, expense-free.
Yes.
And when did you have this agreement with him?
Well, what had happened was he had bought me diamond earrings for Valentine's Day. And he gave me a card and asked me to marry him. So I figured if we were going to get married, then he should have to start paying rent. I'd been divorced for 3 years, hadn't really had a boyfriend, so I know I ran into it way too fast. I realized that, and I just fell in love very quickly.
Okay, so fell in love, but were practical enough to have him sign an agreement to pay you half the rent?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because my ex-husband, when we had got divorced, I was left with all the bills from him. We'd been married for over 10 years, and I wasn't going to go through all that again.
Okay, can I see the agreement that he signed? Okay. So Joanne Bird is your mother?
Correct.
She gave you a credit card?
Yes.
And you had a card made for him?
No. When we would go to the grocery store or anything that was bought for the house, we had agreed to split whatever was bought for the house, groceries and stuff.
Did you use the credit card for anything else?
We did buy some clothes, but other than that...
No, not we. You.
No.
You didn't use the card to buy clothes?
Yeah, I bought clothes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You, personally.
Yes.
Well, he's not responsible for that.
Well, he had clothes on there, too.
Oh, well, I'm not getting involved with the credit card bill, madam. Understand that.
Yes.
You know, I didn't do 15 years of post-high school to go through a credit card bill line by line. If you were foolish enough to buy stuff on a credit card for him, that's your problem.
Okay.
How much rent did you pay your mother for the house?
I usually would give her $200 a week, and that would be including utilities and stuff. because it's
So
all in
your
her name.
agreement, Mr. Dietz, was to give her $400 a month for the rent?
My agreement was to help out, Your Honor, and nonetheless, I was the only one working. She had worked at her last job.
Listen to me.
Decided that-
Listen to me. I'm looking at your answer, Mr. Dietz. You say, I do agree I owe her about $400 for 1 month's worth of rent and bills.
I never signed that piece of paper, Your Honor.
Talk
We may
to
have
me.
had a verbal agreement.
Just a
but that is
second.
it.
I'm looking at this piece of paper, sir. You did sign this piece of paper, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's what I'm reading from. It says,
Says
I
an
do agree.
agreement.
I'm speaking. I do agree I owe her about $400 for 1 month's worth of rent and bills. You signed that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about this.
Okay. Yep, that's exactly true.
What month do you owe her for, sir?
I believe that would be February.
You lost your job in March?
I collected unemployment, which was still $430 a week.
Well, now you're not helping yourself, but whatever it is, if you want to tell me that, that's fine, because according to Ms. Knoll, you said that because you were not working, she agreed to let things go until you got a job, until you could pay her back. But now you tell me you had the money. What month did you move out of the house?
It would have been court-ordered that we no longer be together because of accusations made by her ex-husband.
Could you just
Middle
give me the
March.
month, sir?
Middle March.
Mid-March.
Mid-March.
Okay. Now, Ms. Knoll, he says he was no longer living there on a full-time basis after mid-March because your former husband alleged that he had abused your child while on either custody or visitation period with you, and he could no longer be in the house.
Correct.
When was that?
That was in March, but when he was not staying at my house, Mr. Dietz was staying at my mother's house.
So what?
So he was still staying in my mother's house or my house.
Well, that's not where he had the agreement to pay rent, in your mother's house.
Well, when the custody was over, Mr. Dietz came back.
When was that?
I believe the beginning of June.
And when did he leave permanently?
August 12th.
Did you come back in June full-time, sir?
I don't believe I ever came back full-time, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Knoll, when was the last time he gave you money?
He gave me money sporadically, and I never wrote it down. It was very...
So you don't know how much money he gave you?
I think he gave me approximately $500 for the whole entire time he lived with me.
Miss, no, that is not what you do in court, madam. Because this arrangement didn't work out and because he went back with his wife, you can't come to court and say, well, he gave me money sporadically. You have what you allege to be a contract.
Yes.
So that what you have to do is when he gives you money, you have to write it down, memorialize it, give him a receipt, write down exactly how much he gets so you know how much his debt is. You can't come in here and say to me, well, I think he gave me $500 while we were together in February, which is the day you say he signed this, and March he left, but then he came back in June. Now, he says he owes a month's rent. That's what he says. And you don't know how much he owes you.
Well, this is exactly what happened. We were supposed to get married August 12th or 11th. And when we got married, we were going to claim our taxes together, and that's what he had told my mother he was going to pay her back with, was his tax check.
You didn't get married. You didn't get a joint tax check. And you have no idea of how much he actually owes you. So what do you want me to do?
Okay.
Listen, you make bad judgments and sometimes bad things happen, madam. You made a very bad judgment. You don't meet somebody in a bar and allow him to move in 12 hours later into your home.
I realize that.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $400, which is the amount that the defendant acknowledges that he owes you. That's all. Step out.
Apologize to you, sir. Wait here.
I was in love with him, so I just kept giving him chance after chance, which is stupid on my part.
She never worked the whole day, the whole time we were together.
Well, at first I was really heartbroken, but now I'm not.
The whole time she's spending money like crazy.
I mean, look at him, so.
She should be happy she's getting the $400, let alone anything else.
Tanya Nunes is suing fellow motorist Jeff Sorensen for purposely damaging her car during an incident of road rage.
All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 259 on the calendar in the matter of Nunes versus Sorensen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Thank you, Bird. All right, let's get some background information here, folks. What date did this incident happen with your cars?
June 30th of this year, 2006.
What time?
Approximately 2 o'clock.
You were driving?
Mm-hmm.
Who was in the car with you?
I was alone.
You were driving?
And I was alone, too.
Where were you going?
I was going to the last day at my job, and I'm a chef and caterer, and I was coming to pick up the pots and pans I had in my kitchen.
And where is the kitchen?
There's a door to the kitchen that is right along the street that I was trying to find a parking place right in front of the door.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Sorensen? Where were you going?
I was going into a paint shop that was right in front of where I parked.
Now, What I gather and what I've been able to put together and what I know from common sense and from driving a car for a long time is that a parking space became available. The car pulled out of the spot and you followed that car into the spot with the nose of your car. Is that what happened, Mr. Sorensen?
Not totally, Your Honor.
That's totally what happened, Mr. Sorensen. You did not parallel park. Car pulled out, leaving a spot, and you pulled in.
There was a car parked in front of the spot, if you look at the map. I could not fit into it by nosing in totally.
That's the way you started into the spot.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Nunez says she was waiting for a spot on the same street. She saw this car getting out, but in order to accommodate the car so the car didn't have to struggle, she pulled up a couple of car lengths to wait for the car to pull out so that she could parallel park by pulling back, which is the way one parallel parks. The car pulled out, and according to Miss Nunez, you pulled into the spot, and the fight was on. So far, is that pretty accurate, Miss
Yes.
Nunez?
Yes.
There's no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that is precisely what happened. You want to know why I know it's precisely what happened, Mr. Sorensen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you say in your answer that you noticed a red BMW. Is that what you drive? Mm-hmm. Double parked a couple of car lengths away. Well, there would be no reason for Miss Nunez to double park because she had business there. She wasn't waiting for somebody to come out of the store. She hadn't dropped somebody off and was waiting for them to give her something. She had to park her car in order to go into a place to retrieve items. So I know that she was waiting for a spot. And we know that people parallel park, which is she couldn't have pulled back behind this spot. She let the person who was pulling out, spot that she saw first, get out of the spot. You, Mr. Sorensen, were being a wise guy. And if you weren't being a wise guy, then when she came back and she said, you know, that's my spot, you should have said, oh, well, I'm sorry. I thought you were double parked. I'll get out. Which is not what you did. Smart Alec, that is not what you did.
There were several double parked cars on that block.
Her car was not double parked, sir. She was waiting for the spot. And you acknowledge that in your answer that she was double parked 2 car lengths ahead. So when she pulled back, and she said to you, that's my spot. I've been waiting for it. What did you say to her?
Well, that's not how it happened, Your Honor. I was fully parked, and my motor was off. While getting out of my car, she backed into me. There were several double parked cars on that block because there was a mosque on the opposite side of the street that was coming out.
Sir, you told me that you saw her car double parked in front. That's what you told me in your answer.
Yes, I did.
Now, you're not lying there, are you?
No, I'm not
You didn't
lying.
say there were a lot of other cars double parked. I'm telling you her car was not double parked. Her car was waiting for the spot because she had seen the spot, and you could have, Mr. Sorensen, waited for the spot to become vacant, pull up, and then properly parallel park.
Well,
You chose not to do that, sir. I read your answer. You chose to spray your turf first, which was put your nose in the
That's
spot,
not true, Your Honor.
and then later you deal with it.
That's not true, Your Honor.
No. You know, common sense goes a long way, Mr. Sorensen. So then a road rage incident transpired. Now, Miss Nunez, now that I got the lay of the land, I would like you to tell me what happened.
Like I said, I was parked next to his truck. He was right here, and I rolled down the windows on my car, and I told him, you just stole the
No,
parking.
tell me. No,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said to him.
I said, you just stole a parking space I really need.
And what did he say to you?
What are you going to do about it? And I did call him and he
After
looked at
that?
me. Yes, and then he looked at me, paused, took the door of his truck, and with all his body weight and all his might, slammed it as hard as he could against my car. I got out of my car to see that if he had damaged it, and also to get his license plate number. When I did that, he bound out his passenger door, came around his truck, and took his body with his stomach and pinned me against the back of my car.
Not true, Your Honor.
It is very true.
Not true.
To the point where my elbows were on my trunk as he was screaming at me, what are you going to do about it?
Because at this point you were blocking his car.
Well, yes.
Go.
So he's pinning me against the car. I told him there's like witnesses everywhere. He said, watch, nobody's going to help you. I can do whatever I want to you and nothing's going to happen to me.
Don't make things up as you're going
No,
along.
I'm
Ms.
not.
Nunez.
That's exactly what he said to me.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Who are these people? Were either of them here?
My sister is here for moral support, but I also have Officer Chan that responded to, I waved him down to respond to the scene.
Officer Chan, would you step forward, please? You're a police officer in San Francisco?
Yes, working in the San Francisco Patrol Special Police Division.
What do you know about this incident on the 30th of June?
I found two people, this female driving a red BMW and this gentleman driving a black Ford pickup.
Did Mr. Sorensen at any time disclaim responsibility for the damage to her car?
Yes, he did.
What did he say, if you remember?
He said, well, I didn't do it. And he said, check the paint.
And did you?
Yes, I did. I saw a white paint that is in his door.
In his door?
Correct.
And on her door?
Scratches, yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Sorensen, now I'm going to hear you, sir. Go.
I have an estimate for her car that shows damage from the rear bumper all the way up to the rear mirror, which would go and coincide of what happened at the impact happened while she was backing up.
Sure. Okay. I'd like to see it, please.
I marked it on the tab. The whole side, which explains my statement on how I had to scramble back into my car while she was backing up.
Your Honor, I have an estimate that says that there's only one single dent in my car.
Oh, may I see it, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that you pulled your nose into that space as so many other piggish people have done.
And later today...
Do you really think that they keep me here because I'm young and gorgeous?
No,
Mr. Grady, that was the wrong answer, Mr. Grady.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Nunes claims fellow motorist Jeff Sorensen owes for intentionally damaging her car during an incident of road rage.
Now, most people who behave civilly, Mr. Sorensen, will wait their turn for things, wait their turn to get a parking space, understand exactly the frustration that somebody feels when they've been sitting and waiting for a parking space for a long time, and somebody who has very poor manners comes up and says, here I see an opportunity, and I'm going to take it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's not the way it was, Your Honor.
That's exactly the way it was, Mr. Sorensen. There is no question in my mind that this lady did not pick a fight with you. There's no question in my mind that she did not start up with you. There is no question in my mind that she had given the car an opportunity to exit that parking space civilly and parallel park as she was taught to do. And there's no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that you pulled your nose into that space as so many other piggish people have done and said, it's my spot now. You have a problem, Mr. Sorensen. Your problem is you behaved badly that day, and you're not willing to accept responsibility for it. And I have a feeling it's not the first time that you behaved badly. And I think she said to you exactly what she said to you, which was, you took my parking space that I really need, and the response that you gave her was exactly the response that she testified to.
Not true, Your Honor.
You're out of order, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You may step out.
She got fired that day, and she was collecting her stuff at the end of work, and I think she was frustrated.
Actually, I quit my job, so it has absolutely no validity in this case.
I went off on her. There was road rage, and I apologized to her for that.
I feel very sorry for the defendant, and I think he'd be a lot happier if he got anger management.
Maria Bosworth is suing her ex-husband, police officer Anthony Bosworth Sr., for having her falsely arrested for child abuse. Anthony claims he did nothing wrong.
All rise.
That's case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Bosworth versus Bosworth. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Bosworth, this is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 2 children together, and it is your claim that he is responsible for having you falsely arrested after an incident that involved one of your children who was 18.
Yes.
Mr. Bosworth says that you caused the whole incident yourself.
Correct.
Now, you were married when?
In 1988.
And when were you divorced?
97, ma'am.
Who had primary physical custody of the children in 1997?
I did.
And how often did their father spend time with them?
Not that often, ma'am.
How often, Mr. Bosworth, did you visit with your children starting in 1997?
It varied. It usually was once a week.
Usually. Sometimes you skipped a week?
Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on my work schedule.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a police officer right now.
How long have you been a police officer?
Since 1999.
And did you have a reasonable relationship with your former wife?
No, my relationship with my former wife has been hostile and unreasonable.
Okay. Now, I tried to piece together from your complaint and from your answer what transpired on, what date this happened?
July 24th of 05.
And I gather that you had an argument with your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
The argument was about?
Her not cleaning her room.
Had that been an ongoing problem?
Yes. All weekend I had asked her to clean her room, Friday and Saturday. Sunday, her room was still a mess. She constantly was on the telephone. And at that point, I removed the cell phone. I told her until she was to clean the room, that cell phone was not going to be given back to her.
Now, this is the problem. Mr. Bosworth.
Yes.
Your former wife takes the telephone away from her daughter, who has not followed a house direction. So far, correct?
Correct.
And as far as I'm concerned, so far, her prerogative. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
So your daughter calls you on the phone and says to you, she took my phone away.
No.
Well, tell me what happened, sir, that brought you over to the house that day.
I originally got the phone from my daughter.
I don't care. Don't give me any stories about giving the phone to a teenage daughter. How did you come over to the house that day, Mr. Bosworth?
I had gotten tired of not being able to contact my daughter via the cell phone. Therefore, I went to the house that day. On July 24th of 05.
July 24th, you tried to contact your daughter.
Yes.
And you couldn't.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So the phone was in my name. I purchased the phone for her use. Therefore, I wanted the phone back because if my daughter's not going to be able to use it...
Mr. Bosworth, you're skipping a step, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And don't skip a step with me.
What step would you like me to begin at, Judge?
I want to know when you found out that your former wife had taken the phone away from your daughter.
I had called that day, and my daughter had told me...
That's right.
...that she had taken the phone again.
So, you went over there because you wanted your phone back.
Correct.
Wrong! 125% wrong. Your daughter complained to you that her mother took the phone, and you went over there and stuck your nose in where it didn't belong. Because while your daughter is living under her mother's roof, her mother owns the air she breathes.
Okay.
And if you gave your daughter a phone to use, you don't get in between that sort of discipline between her and her daughter. You interfered with discipline for the person who has primary physical custody of the two children. She ignored her mother's direction for 3 days, and her mother said, listen, I'm tired of seeing you sitting on the phone for 3 days while I asked you to clean up the room that's in my house that I pay for. So give me the phone. You come and say, it's not your phone. You give me the phone.
Correct.
That was the wrong thing to do, sir. Now, did you call the police, sir?
When I went to retrieve the phone, my ex-wife slammed the door in my face and refused
because
to
you came in and said, what did you say, Mr. Bosworth?
I asked my ex-wife...
What did you say? Don't ask me.
If she would give me the phone back.
What did he say, Miss Bosworth? That's not what you said.
Where the F is my phone?
That sounds right, Mr. Bosworth.
That's very...
That sounds right, Mr. Bosworth, because how far do you live?
About 5-10 minutes from her house.
And what were you doing when you called your daughter and said, I can't get in touch with you?
I was just hanging around the house, I believe.
And what time of the day or evening was it?
Early evening, sometime
And your
after
family
4.
was home?
I believe so.
And you have a wife?
Yes.
You have children?
Not with my current wife, no.
She has children?
Yes.
That live with you?
Yes, at the time.
Good. So now you have a wife and children, and you get up and you leave them to go over and retrieve your cell phone. So my sense of that, sir, is that you were annoyed, especially since you indicated to me briefly a moment ago that it's not the first time she's taken away the phone, right?
Correct.
So you were really annoyed this time. And when you got there, you want me to believe, Mr. Bosworth, that you said to your former wife, may I please have my phone back? That's what you want me to believe you said?
Your Honor, I am not a loud person. I'm not a violent person.
I don't say you're loud or violent, sir. I'm asking you if you want me to believe that you knocked at the door and said, I'd like my phone back.
I'm not hostile to the point where I will curse at her in her own home. I am very respectful of her in her own home as well as my children in her own home.
You know, sir, I know you've been a police officer for almost 10 years. I've been sitting here for almost 30. Some things make sense and some things don't make sense. What doesn't make sense is why somebody would get in their car in the evening, leave their family, and go over to their former wife's home where there had been a dispute with an adult child, because she's 18 years old, and there was no indication that her mother had beat her, had tied her to a radiator, had stripped her down and throttled her with a belt. She took away her cell phone because she was being disrespectful. You left your family, you went over there, and you caused a problem.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did. Did you call the police?
Before the problem.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Because you didn't get your cell phone.
Because I didn't want a problem with my ex-wife.
Slam the door.
Mr. Bosworth, you're not following me, sir. If you think that you're right, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. And I'm usually very, very respectful of police officers because I think that they do a very tough job. You abused your position as a police officer by calling the police to go over there and retrieve a cell phone.
At that time.
They have better things to do than to deal with your ego. They have people to protect. And if you wanted your cell phone back, all you have to do is you call and you say to the cell phone company, I'm discontinuing the service on this cell phone. That's it. And you tell your daughter, listen, you want to live with your mother? You got to live with her rules. I'm not interfering with that. You chose to interfere with it, and you made a big to-do over nothing. And if you feel as if you're being dressed down today, you are. You are being dressed down because you did the wrong thing. That doesn't mean that you have a case, Miss Bosworth. That means that he behaved badly.
Yes.
So far.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I said, I don't have his phone. This officer said, you're lying. At this point, he came around, handcuffed me so quickly, I couldn't even tell you how he put the cuffs on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maria Bosworth claims ex-husband, police officer Anthony Bosworth Sr., had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Anthony says Maria got herself arrested.
What kind of community do you live in? How big a town?
About 150,000 citizens.
And how many police officers for 150,000 citizens?
350 to 400. I might add that at the time of the incident, I was not a police officer at that time. I had gotten laid off in 2003 and reinstated at the beginning of this year.
So you were a police officer. So these were people that you knew.
Not personally.
These were people that you knew and that knew that you were a police officer. Yes. Otherwise, you know what they would have said to you if they called up and said, I'm going to my ex-wife's house to get my cell phone back. They would have said to you, don't get us involved with this, Mr. Bosworth. You want your cell phone back, go to civil court. But because they were covering for you, they reported and took people away from important business to deal with your ego. Outrageous. Okay, so what happened when the police got there?
He had called me on the phone and was rude and belligerent, and I hung up the phone. That's why he got to my house so quickly, because he was upset that I hung up because I was not going to tolerate him being disrespectful on the phone. When he got to my door, he rang the bell excessively. I would say 20 to 30 times. And when I got to the door, I slammed the door. I told him, you don't know what's going on. You need not to meddle. He never asked me what had occurred for me to remove the cell phone from my daughter. So at that point, I went back to baking as I was. I realized I needed some additional spices. I left, and Mr. Bosworth's outside, and he said, where are you going? The police are on their way. I looked at him and I said, you entertain them. I feel that I didn't do nothing wrong for the police to be at my home.
Absolutely right.
I got in my van and I proceeded to back up. The officer came and he acknowledged Mr. Bosworth. He said, hello, Boz. And my ex-husband said, she's about to pull out. The officer said, no, she's not. Pull that van forward. At that point, I complied. He put his cruiser behind my van. The officer got out, went to Mr. Bosworth, shook his hand. They gave a hug, and they started talking.
Put your hand down, sir.
I went right up to my daughter, Your Honor. She was outside as well. And I put my hand on her arm, and I said, come here. Having Daddy and the police here doesn't change the rules in there. Mr. Bosworth, that I heard him tell Officer, get her away from her. My daughter at this point was crying uncontrollably. This girl, all she wanted was her cell phone, and his intention was to get it out of my hand and put it in her hand, undermine my authority. This is why my kids don't respect me.
Got it. At what point were you arrested?
I would say a half hour later. At this point, my daughter was crying. The officer kept on grabbing me, and I have photos, Your Honor, of what he did to my arm, his buddy. This is not from the shacks. This is actually from him holding me. And I kept on telling the officer, please let go. You're hurting me. And he kept on grabbing. I said, you're hurting me. Let go. What's your problem? He got in my face, and he said, get your effing in the house, or I'm going to find many reasons to arrest you. So at this point, I said, let go. You're hurting me. And he kept on squeezing tighter. So I did go in the home. My daughter was pressed on time. She left crying uncontrollably with her boyfriend. Mr. Bosworth and this officer stayed in front of my house for a good 15 minutes. And I couldn't figure out why are they still there. And I went inside of the garage, Your Honor, to listen. And I heard Mr. Bosworth tell him how of a B I am of an ex-wife, and that mentally and physically I abused my children.
I want to know at what point you were arrested.
At this point, I decided to go in my backyard. I thought the matter was over. They were just talking. I was hoping to God that they just leave. And I was in the backyard. This officer opened my gate, and it's a 6-foot tall gate. And he came and he said, "Where's his phone?" I said, "I don't have his phone." This officer said, "You're lying." At this point, the officer called me a liar. I said, "Sir, I'm not comfortable with you because you know my ex-husband. I want a supervisor." My cordless phone was right there where I was on my deck. I got my cordless phone and I pressed 9 and I attempted to dial for a supervisor. He came around, handcuffed me so quickly, I couldn't even tell you how he put the cuffs on me.
Listen, Miss Bosworth, why didn't you sue the police department?
My attorney told me to wait until the matter was over, and in June of this year, 06, it was over. I did file charges.
And the case was dismissed?
Yes. He never showed up in court, Your Honor.
Good thing. But is your attorney filing a lawsuit against the police department?
We are in the process.
That's exactly what you should do.
Yes.
Him too. Him too. Outrageous conduct, sir. Outrageous abuse of your power. Let me see the police report.
If you look at the police report, it was not my actions that caused her to get arrested.
Oh, listen to me, sir. Listen to me, sir. I know
Your Honor.
exactly what happened, sir. I want to see what the police officer wrote down in this police report. Not necessarily that I believe it.
All
I just want to read it. Outrageous. Your conduct is outrageous, Mr. Bosworth. I'm amazed that you're a peace officer.
Mm-hmm.
Officers were dispatched to assist a subject in retrieving his cell phone.
And they know him.
Where is your daughter now, Miss Bosworth?
She's in college in Georgia.
Is this her first year in college?
Yes, ma'am.
Graduated from high school with reasonable grades?
3.2.
And she got the 3.2 living in your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Not living with her father?
No, ma'am.
I'm speaking. Not living with her father?
Never.
Who filled out her applications with her?
I did.
Not her father?
No.
Father gives her cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
The fact that your former husband exercised the poorest of judgment does not make your case actionable against him. The fact that he abused his power as a police officer, despite the fact that he had been a laid-off police officer, calling the police. And you lied to me, by the way, when you said you didn't know these officers. The police officer said that he knows you. Abused his power. That's also not actionable. He has the right to come over to your house. He also has the right to call the police. They have the right to hang up on him and say, go to civil court, as in their protocol for most things that have to do with property. They chose not to do that in this case. And in my view, that is actionable on your part, civilly, against the police department, not necessarily against him.
He instructed the officer to arrest me if I didn't give the cell phone. If I gave the cell phone, I would never got arrested.
I never instructed any police officer.
They told me down at the police station.
Your Honor.
Just a second, sir. You know, officer.
No, I do not personally.
Well, he says
they were partners.
The above, a male known to the officer.
All officers know each other's names, especially laid-off officers at that time.
Well, sir, what I'm saying to you is...
He knew I was a police officer, yes.
Very, very easy for you to resolve that, sir. You could have brought officer with you as a witness.
I tried to get both officers to come as a witness, and they both told me they didn't want anything to do with this woman.
I wouldn't either, because I got to tell you something.
As well as the witnesses that were there, her neighbors, they didn't want anything to do with this. They wrote statements. They showed me pictures of her past incidences.
Your Honor.
Listen to me, sir.
May I ask?
Miss Bosworth, I want to tell you something.
Yes.
He did the wrong thing. I think that in 1,000 years, he never expected to come here today and be dressed down. Never expected to be dressed down, because nobody has told him he was wrong, except you. And he doesn't believe you because he thinks you're nutty. I'm prepared to tell him that he's wrong, that he did absolutely 100% the wrong thing that day in July.
Thank you. May I add something, Your Honor?
No, it's not necessary.
It's important.
Okay.
My attorney tried to subpoena the 911 call. There was never a 911 call. He called officer on his personal cell phone. He knows he has the section of my city. My attorney...
Just a second. Eventually, if this matter proceeds to a civil lawsuit against the city, which I assume it will, and I assume it should, they can't doctor 911 calls dating back to July.
Your Honor.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Was there a 911 call?
No, there was not. I called the police non-emergency line to ask for an assist to prevent a breach of the peace. Therefore, they determined which officer would show up.
Just a second. You called a non-emergency number that
Yes.
takes you right into the police station.
The dispatch
That
center,
takes
yes.
you right into the police station.
Yes.
I got it.
Not directly.
I got it. I got it. Where is that number published?
In the yellow pages. Yeah, yellow pages of the phone book.
Not a 911 number, though.
No, ma'am.
No. So that peace officers know how to get in touch with that number, right?
Every citizen should know that.
No, I don't. We have a large audience here. I want you to raise your hands, please, if any of you know the non-emergency number to get to your local police precinct in order to have a car dispatched. Raise your hand. Look at this.
Ma'am, it's in the phone
Look,
book.
I don't care if it's in the phone book. You just said to me every citizen should know the number.
They should.
Look at these. These are intelligent people. I don't know the number, and you're not going to find anybody more intelligent than me when it comes to law enforcement, Mr. Bosworth.
I believe you, Your Honor.
The case against him is dismissed, but I wish that I were the judge presiding over the case against the police department where
What
you
about the
live.
mental anguish I suffered according
Listen, you picked him. You picked him, but your lawsuit is a valid one. He exercised poor judgment that day. Poor judgment is not compensated in this way, but the police department have a duty to act responsibly. They have a duty, and they acted not only irresponsibly, but there is no question that they responded to that location because of who he was, and they did absolutely the wrong thing. It was a non-violent situation when they were asked to come to help retrieve a cell phone, and I absolutely believe you when you say that the police officer came back and said to you, now I want the cell phone. That, sir, is a civil matter. Clear? Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The mental anguish that I have gone through over this matter is unbelievable.
For the past 15 years, it's been a pain.
It was pretty intense.
I'm done with my ex-wife. I have nothing to do with it.
I hope he leaves me alone. If I never see Mr. Bosworth, my life is fine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hill versus Trasati Doherty. Step forward, please.
23-year-old twins, Brian and Rodney Hill, are suing former beach house roommates Samantha Trasati and Natalie Doherty for unpaid rent.
Who's Mr. Hill? Both of you. Hill. Who's going to speak for the Hill brothers?
I'll start.
Okay. Tell me your first name.
Brian.
Brian, where do you live?
I live in New York.
And where was this share house that you rented?
It was in Dewey Beach, Delaware.
All right. So this is the situation. You and your brother decided to rent a summer house and go something like this. You rent the house for how much?
It was around $20,000.
Not around. Give me the figure.
It was $20,350.
You have a contract?
I have the lease.
I'd like to see it. $19,845. Where's $20,350?
Oh, it was just what the taxes and stuff they added on the lease.
I want to see the lease. This isn't the lease.
That's the best thing they could give us for showing. That shows the dates that we had the payments due and that kind of stuff. That's the best thing the realtor could provide us to bring here.
How old are you, Brian?
I'm 23.
Brian, you have a lease agreement. This is not a lease agreement. Nobody rented you their house for $20,000, young man, without giving you a lease. A lease indicating what the rental was, how many people you were allowed to have there, what the term was, from when to when. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Brian?
I do. That's the best thing we could get.
Well, that's too bad. You come back when you get something else. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wow.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So this teaches you a very good lesson. When you come to court, you don't come to court with your ostensible good looks. You come to court with evidence. And not irritate me. It's a very bad thing to irritate me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian and Rodney Hill claim former beach house roommates Samantha Trasati and Natalie Doherty owe for unpaid rent. The defendants claim The brothers are being greedy.
All right, Mr. Hill, I understand from my clerk that you now have a completed lease. I'd like to see it, please. Have you ever been to court before, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
When I was 16, I was in court for driving without insurance.
Did your parents go with you?
Yes.
Being cautious with your answers. And when they went with you for insurance, did they bring the insurance card with them?
Yeah, and they let me go after that.
Right. So this teaches you a very good lesson. When you come to court, you don't come to court with your ostensible good looks and brains. You come to court with evidence. That's what you're supposed to come here with. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And not irritate me. It's a very bad thing to irritate me. You all understand that, don't you? Yes. All right, so now let's start again. We're going to start off on the right foot this time, Brian, so that I don't think you're an idiot and you know who I am. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. You decided to rent a share house.
Mm-hmm.
You two boys leased it for the summer with the intention of subletting rooms in the share house to other people, a practice that's been going on, believe it or not, since I was born and since I lived back in the Stone Age. You rent a house for $20,000, and aside from other people, you leased shares in the share house to these two young ladies, and it is your claim that while they paid you some, they still owe you some as a result of their lease. The girls say that they have paid you. In addition, they say that there were other people in the house, friends of yours, who used the house various times during the summer, who slept in the house, who were not supposed to be there, and they assumed that they were also paying you money. Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Well, that also has been going on since the Stone Age. Now, how many people were allowed to be in this house?
The house was zoned for 8 people. Our landlord told us if we were to have 9 people in the house, it would be okay.
Brian, your lease provides for 8 people. So you see, that's why I like to look at a lease. The lease says the maximum occupancy is 8 people. You do read, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to give you another rule of law. You don't want to be a lawyer when you grow up, do you?
No, ma'am.
Thank goodness for small favors. This is a contract. And when you have a written contract, you cannot discuss anything that goes beyond the walls of this contract and say, well, it was modified, we modified it orally. It says maximum occupancy 8, but the landlord told me I could have 9 or 10 people. It wouldn't be terrible. He'd let me. Can't do that. That's basic contract law. So if the landlord told you that you could have 9, then he has to put it in the contract. Do you understand? So the maximum number of people that you could have was 8. Okay. This rental property, let's say for easy math, cost you $20,000. Divided by 8. $2,500 a share. So far, is that correct?
Well, the shares that we had worked out were $2,100, and I can explain to you how we came to the $2,100. We took the lease amount, which was the 19 and change, and then we took the utilities, the gas and electric bill, and we divided that by 10. Now, the 10
now,
for...
how can you divide that by 10? That's
well, that was
illegal.
because, well, Samantha wanted her own room because she didn't want anyone sleeping in a room with her, so what she effectively did was
Samantha, smart girl. Very, very smart girl, Samantha. All right, so Brian has already violated his lease because, according to you, you were going to have 9 people in the house plus Samantha's double share.
Yes, ma'am.
So how many people did you actually rent to?
It was 9 people.
Also, there was one other person who lived there for a month because I left a month early, so I sold the rest of my share to somebody because I left for graduate school.
And
so,
what was that person?
His name was Chris. So he paid kind of like a third of mine because he came in and I had left.
What's your first name?
My name is Rodney.
Rodney, are you telling me that Chris was never there at the same time you were?
Oh, no, that's not true at all. He was...
Right! Because that's their complaint, you see. That's their complaint, that there weren't 9 of you, there were 10 of you. And when you originally divided the number of shares they were going to be, even if there were 9, which was illegal, you brought in somebody else to make a 10th person. And that person was there sometimes when you were there and sometimes not.
Ma'am, the girls had female friends that had practically moved in with them. We absolutely never said anything about
Did
that.
they?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they? When you say practically moved in with them,
2-3
tell
weeks
me.
at a time.
2-3 full weeks at a time.
Came
Give me
and
the
did
name.
Erin.
Okay, her friend.
Natalie had a friend that would come every weekend.
Name?
Lauren. And then for quite some time, there was a girl that stayed in her room, and her name
Natalie,
was Erin.
who's Lauren?
Lauren is a friend of mine that came to visit me a couple times this past summer. And I mean, I had no objections to it because she's welcome to me and to her home multiple times. But they had people coming into this house almost every weekend from DC, from wherever. And I would say, oh, Brian, who are these people? They're weekenders. Don't worry about it. They're paying too.
So are you telling me that Brian told you that they were paying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you had your friends visiting, were they paying?
No.
All right. Go ahead.
What we did was we had weekenders who would come in and they paid like a very reduced rate, and we used that just for the house, to keep the house up and running, to pay our TV bill. We had TV's bills that were $300-400. We had them pay that. We are absolutely not interested in nickel and diming our friends. We put up the money for that house solely because 9 of us wanted to get a house, and we were the only people that were able to do so. We had absolutely no interest in getting money out of this.
Brian, let me explain something. You cannot do that. You cannot unilaterally say, I am going to modify the terms of our lease agreement, whether it was an oral or a written lease, for 9 people and say, well, we're going to have 15 people in total. Some are going to be weekenders. And I'm going to use that money to defray any other costs that we might have. Let's say we want to throw a party or two. Let's say we want to bring in beer, we need some liquor, or we need some other stuff. That money will defray those costs. You can't do that. Your agreement with them doesn't give you that right. Now, how much money do you say that the girls owe you, and how much did they pay?
Samantha was up to $42 for her 2-person share. She gave us $3,500. We were asking her for another $7. And Natalie, having given us $1,650, and we were just asking the difference between $20 and $100. When they left for the summer, they said, no problem, we'll pay you, just ask our dads. Our dads will just write you a check for it, no problem. This is what they said. They said, my dad will pay me absolutely, whatever I owe, my dad will pay it.
Good. Let's start.
Interjection.
Natalie,
My father died when I was 13, so it's obvious I never said that.
I'm sorry, Samantha, I'm sorry.
Natalie, how much money did you pay them in total?
I paid them $2,000.
You have proof of that?
I have a check that was written between my grandmother and my aunt, and then the other $500 I gave to Elise before the summer started. The other $500 I gave in a cash payment over the course of the summer. I believe it was in June.
Did everybody pay you in check or check and cash?
No, hardly any checks. It was almost all cash. Always cash.
Do you have any record of payment?
No, ma'am. We just assumed that we would all. I mean, we weren't running a business. We were just.
Well, now
friends.
you're running a business, so how can you sue if you don't have a record of payment? She says she paid you $2,000, which means at most she owes you $100.
Well, I mean that's not true, but.
Oh, my initial reaction was perfect. You say you owe him $100?
Sure.
Okay.
If I must, then I.
Well, you owe him
no,
$100.
okay.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Next. What about you?
I paid a total of $4,000. I have record of $3,500, which I paid before I moved in.
So, what about the rest of the money?
I paid in cash during the summer.
Show me the record. I assume you don't have a record of Samantha's either. So you say at most you owe $200. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you. When you paid your $2,000, tell me the way you made the payments.
First off, it was $250. I believe it was like, I decided that I would definitely live in the house probably the beginning of April. Okay, my apologies, Your Honor. Beginning of April, $250 to Elise. I said, please give this to Brian and Rodney. They live next door to her. Passed it on, supposedly. Then another $250 a couple weeks later, $500 down. Then I went and saw my grandmother, saw my aunt, and they said, of course, we'll be willing to help you. Wrote a check from Elizabeth Harris to Rodney Hill, $1,000. Paid
so far we're $1,500.
Yes.
Okay, and
then by the end of June, at the very latest, another $500 in cash, just from money that I made as being a waitress over the summer.
Okay, and you paid $3,500 that you can prove?
Yes.
That you can prove?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The $500 they've both exaggerated beyond what we said they paid is entirely made up.
If you're going to be in business, you have to keep records.
You're quite right.
I know I'm right. If you want to be in business, you have to keep records. Your brother just told me he doesn't know. He thinks that they gave you so far $1,650. It could be $1,500. Maybe it's only $1,500 that she gave you.
Your Honor, I can actually say she didn't give me $500, which is why I don't believe she gave the $500. She actually gave me $750. So I do
So
not
instead
believe...
of $500, she gave you $750.
Yeah, so if her records are incorrect there, I don't see how she could say that
Okay,
she
Natalie.
actually did.
Natalie.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sit down.
How does...
Sit down. Sit. And speak not. Natalie, you owe him another $100.
Okay.
Samantha, you owe him $700 because you do have records of $3,500. And anybody who has records of $3,500 has the records of the rest. So next time, don't go into business, guys. You're not smart enough. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We're just not cheap guys. We're very easygoing. We don't keep records. We're not accountants.
You just have to know when to put your foot down and to use contracts and to use your intelligence to prevent things like this from happening. Well, I would have paid it if they proved that I owed it.
I think I'm just going to only pick closer friends. You know what? I'm not going to start being really crazy about money and using in contracts and everything. I'm just going to choose my friends better.
After the maybe first 3 weeks of summer, I didn't even go in the house unless it was to shower, to get dressed, or to come home to pass out.
We had a great time. What can we say? We're young. We're fun.
I don't even know who was in that house. It was terrible. You'd walk upstairs, and there'd be people passed out on the floor. Walking over them while they were passed out on my floor when I was trying to get orange juice in the morning. Beer everywhere. And I'm not saying I was an angel this summer. I'm just saying that I really did not like the environment of that home.
Contracts next time.
Never live with them again.
All I have to say is, for anyone looking to live in a beach house with these two girls, beware.
Anthony Guichard is suing the mother of his child, Carrie Hess, for her share of their daughter's dental bills and for the cost of changing her birth certificate.
Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Now, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Guichard versus Hess. Pfizer, you're welcome, Judge. Pfizer been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Guichard, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship some time ago. That relationship produced a child. For most of her life, the child lived with her mother, and more recently, she came to live with you. Your lawsuit is an interesting one. It seeks the reimbursement of some medical or dental bills from the mother, and it also seeks the expenses of having the child's birth certificate changed to reflect your last name. I don't know what Ms. Hess's defense is, but I find your lawsuit quite interesting because I have a couple of questions. How old is your daughter?
17 and a half.
And when did she come to live with you?
August of last year.
And I assume that since she's been with her mother, you paid child support.
Correct.
In what amount?
Court order, $400 a month.
And you've paid that for how long?
Well, there was a recent order that was placed about 7 years ago that surrounds what I consider to be fraud at one particular time with her, I think it was her third husband.
She's had a lot of husbands.
Okay.
Is that right, Ms. Hess?
I've been married 3 times, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
She should know how many times she's been married.
Well, she's recently just had another child about 9 months ago. That would be number 4.
You've been married 3 times?
Yes.
I assumed that you knew how many times you were married, and you have 4 kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you currently under a child support order, Ms. Hess?
To pay child support to Mr. Guichard?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Have you taken her to court for child support?
Not at this time, for one particular reason.
Why?
When my daughter first came to live with me, or actually escaped to live with me, I did not want to seek a support order because she was 17, 1 more year, and it really didn't matter. But because the mother made the transition so ridiculous, I thought at this particular time that someone has to pay for this. For instance, she called the FBI on us when we were vacationing in Mexico and insisted that I had kidnapped my daughter.
Just a second. So you took your daughter out of the country to Mexico?
Correct.
And Mexico has the Brando law, which precludes you from bringing the child back into this country unless you have a letter from her indicating that it was fine for her to leave the country and to come back. There are lots of other places you can go. You should have been smart enough not to go to Mexico.
Her mother knew it.
What I'm telling you is, unless you had the letter from her indicating that she was fine with it, you shouldn't have taken your daughter to Mexico on vacation.
It had never been a problem in the past. There's another issue that came into play as well. Since the kidnapping that she tried to have a warrant issued on me didn't work, we came back to California. She's already enrolled in high school, doing fine. She called the Nampa Police Department, received a police officer that she manipulated there. That police officer called me at home, told me if I did not put my daughter on the next plane, she was going to swear out a warrant and have me arrested for kidnapping. And I said the officer needs to stand back and take a position and be objective because she's being manipulated by one of the best.
Mr. Guichard, this is absolutely fascinating. for a full-hour talk program.
Correct.
This
It would
is
probably
not,
entail
this
more.
is not a lawsuit, sir. The fact that you are ticked off at Ms. Hess because she has made this transition difficult does not create a lawsuit. And if you wanted to sue her for support, you should have done that. And then the court is obliged, under the federal child support guidelines, to make an order of support commensurate with what she earns and what you earn and what the child's needs are. So I don't know why you choose to come to small claims court, sir.
Because I truly believe the family court system is slanted. I have filed the paperwork. I've got hundreds of letters asking for this. Nothing has been
Well, you
answered
filed the papers for what?
for child support.
And what happened?
They're still waiting. It's still pending. They keep getting back to me saying, well, we'll get back to you. It's in someone else's hands, so on and so forth. But I still don't...
When did you file for child support?
Approximately 4 months ago.
Mr. Gouchard, when you live in one jurisdiction and the defendant lives in another jurisdiction, you proceed under the Uniform Reciprocal Child Support Enforcement Act. Each jurisdiction in this country is a signatory to that pact.
Correct. I'm aware of that.
Well, I want you to know that I'm aware of that.
I know you are.
Okay. So that you may have filed your petition 4 months ago, but what happens is the state here in California, first they type it up. Then they send the papers to the authority in Idaho. They have their own problems to deal with in Idaho. The ERISA proceedings are not high on the list of priorities of family court. They have child abuse, neglect, juvenile delinquency. And when they get around to it, they will serve her with a summons in the ERISA proceeding, and she will be summoned to court, and they will make an order.
I disagree with that because I know the status of what's happening. It hasn't even gotten off the desk in the Orange County and hasn't even been to Idaho as of yet.
Well, the
But I
fact,
still
the fact that it hasn't gotten off the desk in Orange County, sir, has nothing to do with your agenda.
What I don't understand, and it's been explained to me by my family attorney, even if I don't have a support order, why is she off the hook for financial responsibility for her child?
Just a second. She is not.
Okay.
She is not. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to take the bull by the horns and buy yourself a plane ticket and go to Idaho and file a petition on behalf of your daughter, they will have to hear it much swifter than they would if they heard it under a ERISA proceeding. There's no question about that. So once
The district attorney works for the people. But why
Listen,
are they her
Mr.
personal secretary?
Mr. Gouchard, I'm not here to defend the jurisdiction of Orange County. That's not my job. My job is to decide whether or not you've been shortchanged, and whether or not, if you've been shortchanged, you have a legal claim in small claims court. And my problem with your case initially, reading it, was I don't know what your beef was. You want her to pay for half the child's dental bills, and yet you have filed a proceeding in the family court for a support order, and you don't like the fact that it's taken too long. And what I'm suggesting to you is, if she's a passive-aggressive person and was hell-bent on making your life miserable when your daughter came to live with you.
She did it last night till 1 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't just then.
Mr. Gouchard, I didn't pick her.
I didn't either.
Oh, yes, you did.
Not for 30 days.
No, listen to me.
The extent of
listen
it.
to me. I read your complaint very carefully, and there was a time, I assume, up until your daughter was 7 years old, that you believed that you had terminated your own parental rights by signing an affidavit allowing Miss Hess's then third husband to adopt her. When did you sign the document terminating your parental rights?
Are you going to allow me a little latitude here?
No, I want you to answer my question.
I can't remember the date. It was approximately 7 years ago. Well, no, I can't remember the exact date. It wasn't 7 years ago that I signed them. It was when she was about 7 years old. Those were signed.
When she was 7 years old.
Around that age.
From age 1 through 7. Just answer my questions.
Yes.
Were you under a support order?
Yes.
And what were you paying in support?
$400 a month.
Then, when the child was...
Yes. I have the original order.
I'd like to see it.
If you allow me a couple seconds to find it. I didn't know I was going to be bringing
Absolutely.
that
I
one
allow
up.
you a couple of seconds to answer my questions, not to vent. You want to vent, go to see a therapist. You're angry.
I'm not really that angry.
Anger doesn't make a lawsuit,
I'm more
Mr.
frustrated
Gouchard.
with you not allowing me the latitude to elaborate on a couple
Well,
issues.
you'll just have to
instead of
suffer with that, sir.
Yeah, perhaps.
No, I'm telling you, definitely. Shh, quiet.
Here's I believe, the original order.
Thank you.
And here is the order that some years later, after the alleged fraud incident for the adoption, that we went to court and everything was brought to light.
There is an order here dated December 19th, 1990. At that time, sir, there was an order entered of $400 a month. However, at that time, there were over $4,000 in arrears.
That was from retroactive.
No, it just said there were 4,000.
Well, that's what it was from. Well, here's what happened. It wasn't my child. We had to go through the DNA. If you look at the birth certificate, what happened is the two of them decided to get married. They put both their names on the birth certificate and told me I'm not to have any involvement. When her first husband decided that he got cold feet and wanted to get the heck out of there, he turned around and filed a divorce. She immediately came after me for support. I was married for about 45 days to 60 days at that time. She strategically served my wife, got in my wife's face and said, look, I'm here to stay for the next 18 years. You might want to rethink this marriage since it's new. She personally thought at that time that I was going to get back with her and have a new family.
There is an order that you've handed to me dated December 19th, 1990. In that order, Ms. Hess, I want you to listen to me very carefully as to what paragraph 3 says. It says both parties to share equally unreimbursed medical expenses of the minor child. That's what the order says. You want to read it?
There is a new order.
Shh. Why? Is this order hurting you?
No,
is the order that I just read hurting you?
No, ma'am.
Sometimes it's good just to be quiet. Now you'll have to give me the new order.
It says the same thing. But it's just what we recently threw expert.
All I'm telling you is sometimes silence is golden, Mr. Gouchard.
I'd rather get to the facts.
And Mr. Gouchard, you want to get to the facts, and I said it to you before. You go to a therapist. You want to get to the law, you come to court.
I'm not talking about my personality. I'm talking
You
about
are talking about your personality, sir, because what you're here for is unreimbursed medical expenses. That's what you're here for. And if you have an order that calls for her to pay for unreimbursed medical expenses and she hasn't done it, that's what I'm here to deal with. Not that you couldn't enjoy your trip to Mexico.
I wasn't talking about necessarily the trip
Could
to
we
Mexico.
please have the updated order?
Yeah, I've got a mess here. I told you I'm trying.
Well, but I had one that I was very happy with. You his wife? Get him into therapy.
Actually, my daughter's been in therapy.
She probably needs it.
Yeah, I would after spending 16 years and 6 husbands and all the abuse. Yes, she does.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are so angry and need a forum for your anger.
Correct.
So badly. This is not it, Mr. Gouchard.
And later today,
I'm going to waste not one further moment on this case. Between the two of them, I don't think we can put together a 3-digit IQ.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anthony Gouchard claims the mother of his child, Carrie Hess, owes for her share of their daughter's dental bills.
Do you have an order in your file after December 19th, 1990?
No, Your Honor, that was the original order.
Good.
And in fact, Your Honor, everything he's saying, I mean, we took notes. Everything he's saying is a lie.
Listen to me. Not everything he's saying is a lie.
Oh, okay, not everything.
Not everything, madam, that he's saying to me is a lie. You know, I've been in this business for a lot of years, and I know an awful lot about one-night or 30-day stands that produce a child that can tend to aggravate you over the next 18 or 21 years. Been there, seen it, done it all. And I know about how you feel that your daughter lived with you for 16 and a half years, and then she decides to go and live with her father, and that can be very irritating, and that you decided that this transition was not going to be made happily. There's no question in my mind that you knew that he had not kidnapped your daughter, that he wasn't holding her for ransom, that he wasn't chaining her in some basement, and you decided to make his life a little miserable. There isn't a question in my mind about that. It's not that I don't care. That's not before me. It's not something I can do something about. What I can do something about is if I have an order that provides that you pay for 1/2 of her unreimbursed medical care, that's what you do. Period. Clear?
Yes,
Good.
Your Honor.
Where does this say that she
The
shall
first
pay?
paragraph. It says we're both responsible. We are both responsible for the health and responsible.
No, that's not what it says, sir.
Well, read it to me. I don't understand it then.
Well, you
Please.
seem like a very intelligent man. Maybe I'll let your wife read it to you.
No, I
it
can
says,
read it for you.
It says both parents shall have the right and responsibility to make decisions.
Right.
decisions relating to health, education, and the welfare of the child. It doesn't say anything about money.
It says responsibility for paying for the health and the education.
No.
It's very simple. That was...
Mr. Gouchard, that's not, sir.
So she's released of all financial responsibility and can have children left and right.
Listen, I can't deal with you anymore, sir.
I can't
deal with you anymore, sir, because if you just kept your mouth shut 5 minutes ago, this is an order that says very clearly that each parent shall be responsible for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical expenses for the child. Not decision-making. That's what this says. Not decision-making, payment. But you are so angry and need a forum for your anger.
Correct.
So badly. This is not it, Mr. Gouchard, and I understand you're angry. Unfortunately, sir, you picked the wrong forum. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's still disrupting my life, and it never ends.
Most of what he just said were lies.
I think the people should have to fill out an application before they have children.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rhodes versus Nelson. Step forward, please.
Rachel Rhodes is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eric Nelson, for the return of payments and repair costs for a vehicle he financed. Eric says the car was repossessed because Rachel missed payments.
Miss Rose, Mr. Nelson is former boyfriend of yours.
Correct.
And he financed a car. He was responsible for the payments on the car, but it was your car.
Correct.
The agreement was you were to make the payments on the car. When the car was paid off, it would be yours.
Correct.
Well, what happened is that you missed some payments on the car. Couple. 2, maybe 3. And the car was repossessed by the company. Is that right so far?
So far, I made a payment. I had placed it on the Dropbox.
I don't want to hear that you made the payment. You placed it on the Dropbox. They didn't cash the check, but then you missed 2 more payments. You missed payments, correct?
Yes.
And the car was repossessed. You called up the company, and the company said, well, if you make up all the payments that you missed, we'll give you the car back. You were prepared to make up the payments, right?
Correct.
But Mr. Nelson says, I'm not going to sign off on you getting the car back because I don't trust that you're going to continue to make the payments on the car. Let them take back the car. I'll make up the missed payments, and I just want this off my record so I don't have to worry about it anymore. So you're suing him for not making it easy for you to get the car back from the company. That's your lawsuit?
Yes.
That's not a lawsuit, Ms. Rhodes.
Well, Your Honor, I have the paperwork pertaining to the money order that I had purchased and I had put in the Dropbox. After the 29th of December, I had called and checked the status of the money order. The money order had not been cashed.
Ms. Rhodes, you don't seem to get me. After you had this alleged mishap with a money order that you allegedly put in a Dropbox at the car company, which they didn't cash, you then missed 2 more payments.
Ma'am, the payment was for, the money order was for $250.
You then missed, according to your own statement, 2 more payments because you had trouble. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct.
Well, that's what you wrote here. That's what you wrote here. How many more months of payments did you miss?
I only missed, to my knowledge, I missed 3 payments, which is a month worth of payments.
You missed 3 payments, and the car was repossessed.
That's correct, but as far as I know, I thought the payments were current.
Well, they weren't current, and you have no cause of action against Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson doesn't have to make it easy for you to get your car back from the company. Your responsibility is to see to it that the payments are made on time, and they are made to the right place, and to check and see if they were cashed, and to check and see that his credit is not at risk. That's your job. He was being very nice to you, but things transpired, which we'll get to in a moment, because you have a counterclaim that suggested to him that you were not particularly a trustworthy person. So he wasn't going to make it easy for you to get the car back, and he has no legal obligation to do that. And this is, of course, a court of law. And in a court of law, he is not under legal obligation to get you your car back from the finance company after you missed, I don't care if you missed 1 payment. According to you, you missed 3.
Well, can I say this?
Sure.
If I wasn't such a trustworthy person, I was able to pay the money to get the car back, but he didn't want to do that. But he told me that I can give him the $500 so that I can drive another car of his that he had parked.
Well, let me tell you why he thinks that you're not particularly a trustworthy person. He has a counterclaim for the missed payments that he had to make up.
Yes, ma'am.
But more importantly, his counterclaim asks for money for a paternity test because you had a child, which he believed to be his child. He put his name on the child's birth certificate. He paid child support. I don't know whether he saw the child regularly.
He paid child support. No.
Did you pay any child support, sir, to her?
No, ma'am, I haven't paid to her because I have a lawyer at this time.
Were you living together when the child was born?
No, ma'am.
Did she tell you the child was yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And you believed her?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took a paternity test?
Yes, ma'am.
And the paternity test said the child could not have been yours?
0% probability.
That's why he doesn't trust you.
Okay. Can I say this? Yes. He took a paternity test. I didn't know nothing about the paternity test. I wasn't there when he swabbed my daughter's mouth. I don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he could have, I don't know.
He could have, but I think you certainly have to go to court to find out. Have you been to court yet?
Yes, we've been to court.
And what happened when you went to court?
We went to court, and by him signing the paternity affidavit, they stated that if it is his child or if it's not his child, that he needs to pay
child support. So the court where you are said Mr. Nelson is out of luck because he was told that the child was his by you, and because he signed the affidavit of paternity based on what you told him, he's going to pay child support whether the child is his or not. That's what you just told me.
I mean, that's what they said.
That's what you just told me that he was told.
Yes.
That wouldn't make me happy.
No.
That wouldn't make me believe that you are a particularly trustworthy person. Sir, this was not a court-ordered blood test, is that right?
No, ma'am.
You took the child yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you have to proceed through the courts. You hired an attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that's the first smart thing that you did.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And do you have a court date?
Yes, I do.
When?
My lawyer has gotten us a court date to go back to court on May the 15th, so we could rescind the paternity affidavit that was already filed against
Fine.
me.
Well, at that point, Miss Rhodes, the baby, as well as you, will be sent to a laboratory to take a paternity test. And at that time, with all three parties present, the court will at least be satisfied that the test is done properly. Miss Rhodes at this point knows that she's on notice, that if there is a possibility that you are not the biological father of this child, that that is not a good thing. So I suggest you start searching in memory to figure out if there's any possibility that he's not the father.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Good. So you have no cause of action against him for the car. He doesn't have to assist you in getting the car back from the finance company. If you can convince them to give the car to you, that's super. And if you can't, you shouldn't have missed the payments which caused it to be repossessed. Now, the defendant's counterclaim is granted in the amount of $275, not for the paternity test, sir, because the paternity test was not an authorized test and it was not done by the courts. If you had been forced to pay for a paternity test through the courts, I might have entertained your application if it was done with all three parties present. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. $275 on the counterclaim. Your claim is dismissed, Miss Rose.
Why did that accuse when you stepped out?
Just to get back at me for leaving after I found out my daughter wasn't my daughter.
I am a very trustworthy person.
She confessed that she had sex with another man while we were together.
Hopefully when the paternity test come back, my daughter will be his.
I already know those results, so I've already dealt with that.
It's going to be his child.
Traumatizing. At work all day crying.
And he's going to pay his child support.
I know that she's not really my little girl. I just don't know how to deal with it.
We're going about our normal business life.
David Self is suing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, for a phone and gas money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2087, Self versus Stroger.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your last name is Self?
That's correct.
There are two parts to your claim. I'm going to get and take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to get and dismiss one of them and get to the one that is important. You and the defendant were in a dating sort of relationship. That dating relationship sort of continued for a while. At some point, you had an argument and she left you. She stranded you. That was in July of 2022. You say you had an argument, she drove off and she left you stranded. You had to get a hotel for the night. You had to pay a friend for gas money. Blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
Forget that. That's what happens when you have a fight with your girlfriend.
Okay.
Have a fight with your girlfriend. How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
Well, for someone almost 40, they know how to get home.
Correct.
Okay, good. So let's get to what your lawsuit is. It's really about a phone that you say the defendant is responsible for losing or taking.
Okay, can I have video to
taking. And the defendant in some way acknowledges that she disposed of your phone, and she says she had very good cause to dispose of your phone. She's going to tell me why. So I'm going to get some dates from you, Mr. Self, and I'm going to, at the same time, explore what I see is her answer and her counterclaim.
Okay.
Now, after the two of you had broken up, Miss Stroger was at a bar, and she was at a bar on what date?
I would say that would be the 16th. It was actually on the 19th.
August 2nd.
Was it August
8-2. You see how...
She knows better about these dates than I do.
Well, but it's your case.
I understand that.
So let's say she's right, that it happened on August 2nd.
Okay.
And at that time, the two of you were no longer dating or a couple.
Yes.
And you were going to a bar. And when you got there, was the defendant there?
Not that I was aware of at the particular time.
You didn't see her?
I didn't see her, no.
What time did you get to the bar?
I'd say about 4 or 5.
Anybody else at the bar?
There's quite a bit of people there,
How many people?
I'd say about 30.
Anybody you knew?
Quite a bit of people.
Of the 30 people there, how many people did you know?
I'd say at least 10.
But you indicate when you got there, you did not see the defendant.
No, I wasn't paying attention to her at the particular time.
Well, you say that there were 30 people in the bar,
Correct.
10 of whom you knew, so you knew some people, and this was former girlfriend of yours with whom you had been close association and intimate, right?
Correct.
And you didn't see her.
Well, they have a back patio, and then they also have the indoor and everything like that. And then they have a front area, too, as well, so.
Tell me, Mr. Self, when did you, in fact, see her?
It's when she was doing the bowling. And that was a little bit later on when I was playing pool.
About what time was that?
I don't know, probably like 7 or 8.
So you had been in the bar for between 3 and 4 hours.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're at the bar for 3 or 4 hours. And are your friends there, these 10 people that you knew?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the breakup that you two had.
Gotcha.
Was it a mutual breakup?
So what ended up happening and everything that we had a disagreement on the 23rd in Norco, and she left me stranded there, so I had to get another friend give me a ride back to my residence.
I can't understand a word you're saying because you're speaking too fast.
On the 23rd,
Better.
she left me at a barbecue and had a friend give me a ride back to Riverside, California.
A friend who was at the barbecue.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you were at a barbecue with her,
That's correct.
and that was how far away from where you were living in Riverside?
I'd say about 20 minutes away.
And your friend was at the barbecue, and after you had an argument with her, your friend took you home.
Prior.
No, not prior. Is that what you just said to me?
In Norco, California, is when she left me at a barbecue. And then at the bar, or when we were down in Huntington Beach on the 30th, she left me. I have video that shows all that.
All right. I asked you whether the breakup was acrimonious. So one time she left you at a barbecue where you knew somebody who drove you home.
Correct.
And you didn't stay in a motel, you didn't do anything else. Okay, good. And then she did it again.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
And the second time was when?
It was on the 30th.
Okay. And that is the time when you say you had to spend some time over. So after she left you the second time,
Yes.
is that when you no longer communicated with her?
That's correct.
Did you say, why did you leave me? How dare you leave me? You didn't have any communication by text or phone or anything else, is what I'm asking you.
So her cousin's supposed to play in a band. We showed up late. She was upset and distraught about showing up late.
Who showed up late?
We did, because I was with her.
I just need a date of that.
On the 30th.
Sir. I have on the 30th. So she was upset that you showed up late, and?
We showed up late to her cousin's thing. They're supposed to be at 2 o'clock. We got there about 2:05. She's upset about that. When we were driving down the road, because we're trying to find parking, which everybody was around and everything, she was getting upset and getting angry with another driver, to the point where I had to pull the e-brake to stop the vehicle, as I thought she was going to run into it.
And then what
I tried to
happened?
de-escalate the situation as much as possible. Mind you, there's 2 minors are in the back.
I would just like to know, was the breakup, I'm trying to figure out, was the breakup acrimonious or mutual on the 30th? Who broke up with whom?
She left me.
She left you there.
That's correct.
On the 30th. After she left you there on the 30th, did you have any communication with her?
I was done with it.
Just a second. So after the 30th, you didn't see her or communicate with her until you saw her on August 2nd, is what you're saying.
Yes. I didn't see her again.
Didn't see her again or communicate with her from the 30th of July until August 2nd, a few days later.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. I can look at my records right now to see, but I don't believe I gave her a call or anything like that.
Okay. And when you saw her at the bar that you were in, you saw her later between 6 and 7. She was bowling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer. The answer is yes.
Yes.
She was bowling. You were playing pool.
Correct.
And what this is about is your phone. which
Yes.
you're missing. So
Yes.
tell me about the phone, sir.
So I have a Note 10 Plus that was behind the bar at the time instead of going to my vehicle, which I typically charge it from that
Just a
point.
second. So you were charging your phone at the bar.
Correct.
When had you put the phone in to charge it?
Later on that evening, around 10, maybe 11, I'm guessing. Because
10 or 11?
I'm
Just a
guessing.
second. 10 or 11. So,
there's a few times I actually go in there, I charge it, then I use it for a little bit.
well,
go back
but
there.
you saw it the last time.
I apologize for that.
Last time you saw it, you plugged it in. It was like 10 or 11. So now you've been in the bar from 4 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
And she was there, at least as far as you know, from about 7 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
Keep going.
So I charge it and
What were you doing with the phone all evening?
talking, texting, texting and stuff like that.
Texting.
Communicating, yes.
To whom?
Friends.
Friends.
What's going on, social media, all the good stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, I was playing pool. I went outside, had a cigarette, and then that's when she, at 12:33 is when she ended up with her girlfriend looking around and all this other stuff. Like I stated before, I have the video that shows that on the camera. Would you like to see it?
So far, I'm not understanding you. So why don't you explain it to me, and then you can show it to me. So far, it's all a jumble. 12:30 at night. You have
12:33 is when she stole the phone.
is when she stole the phone.
That's correct.
And you bought the phone when, sir?
About 2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't know, I think like $800, $700.
Well, this is your case. How am I supposed to figure out? You're suing for a phone that she took. How am I supposed to figure out how much she owes you for the phone if she took it?
I don't know how much I paid for it, but I know it retails for about $1,200.
Show me.
So I got the case cover,
What kind of phone was
the
it?
Note 10 Plus.
The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is typically $395 to $512.
At this point in time, yes.
Well, that's what it would cost you to replace it.
Okay.
Now, you do not deny that you put your hands on his phone in a manner in which you intended to have it removed from his custody, which means, according to you, you took the phone out of the charger and threw it in the trash or in trash someplace. So far, Mr. Self, the defendant acknowledges that she took the phone and trashed it.
All right.
And I want you to make sure that you answer my questions carefully. While you were at the bar between 7 and 12, did you ever show anyone at the bar a photograph of the defendant?
No, I did not.
Now I'll hear you.
So I got to the bar around 8:30 because I played darts that night. I did not see the plaintiff. I was playing bowling. There's an arcade game. And when he came in, he started showing videos of me.
That's incorrect.
Don't speak. There is a protective order in place, and if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service, you better do so. In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
David Self claims his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, owes for a phone and gas money. Joangela is countersuing for harassment.
Now, did you see him showing videos of you to anyone at the bar?
I saw him showing videos.
But didn't see what they were?
No.
I would never do such a thing. Apologize.
Could you stand up, please? Absolutely. Do you know Mr. Self?
I do.
Tell me your name.
Amy
Amy what?
Clack.
Were you at the bar on the 2nd of August?
I was.
And you know the defendant?
Yes, she's a friend of mine.
And what about Mr. Self? How do you know him?
As her ex-boyfriend?
Be careful of what you answer me. Did you see what Mr. Self was showing on his phone?
I did not see what he was showing on his phone. I saw him showing the phone, and I had friends who came up to me to see if I had seen it.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
Understand.
You can sit down. Now, Ms. Stroger, your answer, and of course your counterclaim, involved the fact that Mr. Self was showing intimate pictures of you that he had maintained on his phone. So far, we don't have a witness to that. So what I want you to tell me is whether or not you personally had a conversation with Mr. Self about those videos on that night on August 2nd.
I asked him not to show video of me around the bar that night.
You did have a conversation with him?
Yeah, because he approached me.
Put your hand down. I want you to tell me about the conversation.
He approached me basically...
I don't want to hear basically.
He approached me
what time?
saying hi about 9:30. that night. Approached me saying hi. I told him I didn't want anything to do with him, that I had seen him showing videos, and that I was told that it was sexual videos of myself.
And what did he say?
He said he can do what he wants with his phone, and walked away.
Do you recall that conversation, Mr. Self?
There was no conversation that took place. The only video.
No. Slowly. There was no conversation, that took place.
That took place about anything like that. What video I did have was her being irate over there in Huntington Beach. So if you'd like to see that too as well.
No, I'd like to see the videos that she says that you have of her on your phone.
I don't have any videos of her like that on my phone.
Did you delete them?
I don't have.
Oh, he has a new phone. Got it. He has, just dawned on me, he has a new phone. Well,
I did have a letter stating that he did get the backup, and he's got all the videos again.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I do have a backup. Once I...
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to my boss at 1:30 in the morning. 2:43, sorry.
Mr. Self, this was sent by you to her boss on the 9th of August.
Okay.
Would you tell me the purpose of sending this letter to her boss?
She does very good at showing that she's a good person and all the other good stuff.
No, I don't think, listen to me. I don't necessarily think anything.
Okay.
I think any woman that allows photographs to be taken of her, intimate photographs that she would not want put on the... I'm speaking.
Okay.
I'm speaking that she would not want posted on the front page of a local newspaper.
Correct.
I think that that's foolish.
Yeah.
I do. And I know a lot of people do it. I do a shout out every once in a while and say that that's stupid to do. And I think certainly if you were showing those videos or those photographs to anyone at the bar because you were annoyed with her or whatever, you thought it was fun, I think that that's
childish.
Sad, maybe worse. What I want to know is, after this all happened, why you sent this email to her boss.
Because the thing is this, that she is trying to pin me as a bad guy or something like that, is what she's really trying to do. She's trying to manipulate it to be on her side. She lies and manipulates all the time. And I've seen that because I was with her. I should know. Okay? The thing is this, I have the video of her over there in Huntington Beach being irate, unable to have a conversation.
I don't care if she's irate, sir. Right now, she has no proof that you were showing videos of her at the bar that evening.
Yes.
You don't have that because that's your counterclaim. And if you don't have that, then I have to dismiss your counterclaim.
But there's also harassment and stalking that he's been doing.
Okay. I have to dismiss that part of your counterclaim, which is for revenge porn. Okay. Now, you're going to tell me about the stalking, and first I'll take a look at a police report.
The police report, unfortunately...
Just a second. If you don't have it...
I have a restraining order, and the police...
Just a second. Do you have a restraining order that's in effect now?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Also, Your Honor, too, I have also...
No, I'm not...
Okay.
I didn't ask you anything. Were you at a hearing, Mr. Self, on this protective order?
I never even got served papers at all for anything.
I have proof of service.
Was there a signature on it?
Well, Mr. Self, she has a restraining order that's, and the hearing date was August 25th, 2022. She appeared. You're supposed to stay away from her. I'm just telling you. And I'm telling you, considering the fact, and I don't know whether you were released from prison recently. Are you still on parole?
I'm on parole right now, yes.
Okay.
And
well, if you're... I didn't ask you anything. Well, if you're on parole, Mr. Self, and you say you weren't served with this restraining order, I would strongly advise, sir, that you retain counsel and question service.
Yeah, I've contacted my probation officer. They're well aware of the situation.
Don't tell me what they're aware of. I'm telling you that there is a protective order in place.
Gotcha.
And if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service of that protective order, you better do so.
Okay.
In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
He called me yesterday.
I called you yesterday?
Yes.
Don't speak to her. Tell me what the conversation was yesterday.
I was on my way to work, and I didn't know the phone number, so I answered it, and he said, please just give me a minute, and I hung up.
Did you call her yesterday from that phone?
There is a phone.
Just a second. That would be a yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you know this situation is hostile.
Yes.
And you knew you were coming here today.
That's correct.
Would you tell me, please, why you called her yesterday?
I didn't mean to call her by any means. I pocket dialed her.
Well, if it butt called her or pocket dialed her, sir, that means that you were able to transfer all the information that you had on your old phone into your new phone, because after the experience that you had at the bar, there would be no reason for you to have her number in your phone.
I know.
Unless you just transferred.
I got it right here.
Well, if you got it, listen to me. If you got it right here, then it wasn't a butt call. So you can either butt call when, am I wrong about that? You know, I'm not technically sophisticated, but I do know this. I can't think into my phone. Now, maybe there is a phone that you can think into. I'd say, well, I have her number right here. I can't say, am I missing something here?
You might only butt dial me because I'm in your favorites, but...
Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
David Self is accusing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, of throwing away his phone. Joangela is countersuing, claiming David shared private photos of her.
Okay, so you called her. You want to tell me why you called her yesterday?
I accidentally called her.
What's her number doing in your phone?
Because I keep all the numbers and everything just in case I have to get a hold of somebody. Because you know how many times I've been with her and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth?
Yeah.
Tons of times. You know what I mean?
You know, sir, something, Mr. Self. I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I don't believe you, and I don't believe that there was ever any reason for you to contact her boss. I think she has an order of protection.
Okay.
I'd like to see proof of service. Do you have it?
Yes. Oh, it's not connected with that. I'm sorry. If not, I have a picture of the service in front of his house.
Yeah. Server's name. So it was personal service.
And I do have a video after the fact of what she's talking about, the individual coming to the house. So I recorded
I'm just
that.
reading the proof of service, sir. You said you weren't served. I'd like to see proof of service. If you had proof of service, you were served.
I wasn't served.
Okay.
Just because you take a picture in front of the house and everything doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Why is that? I wasn't even at the residence at the time.
They took a picture of me.
Yeah, I would suggest to you, Mr. Self,
Stay away.
I would suggest to you that hire a lawyer.
Okay.
If you think that the service was improper, I'm satisfied with it, and another judge was satisfied with it, and I still don't understand why you wrote to her boss. Why you wrote to her boss afterwards. Any other communications?
To my boss, yes.
May I see it, please? Well, this is also written on August 9th, sir. This is from you, and it's a very graphic email to her boss. You want to take a look at it?
I do indeed.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay. Thank you. So this is really just stating the individual that they hired, that they...
Now, I'm just asking you whether you sent that to her boss.
That is my email address, and that looks
Yes,
like my
so-
writing. That's correct.
The question is, did you send that to her boss?
Indeed.
Okay. May I have it, please? And that was after the events, a week after the events of the 2nd of August, right?
Okay, yes.
You want to tell me why you sent that to her boss?
Well...
I mean, it's not telling that she's a thief. You have to be careful of her. It's talking about sexual things.
Where is it saying sexual things in that?
Oh, very easy. You say she lies to her boss about cramps while we lay in
She
bed.
is literally taking off of work saying that she's, you know, sick or...
So I'm asking you why. Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
Okay.
The fact of nature, I understand that I've been to prison and all sort of stuff. I can be the bad guy and all that great stuff. I understand that.
I'm not saying she's a good person.
Correct.
I'm not saying you're a bad person.
Correct.
She's got to pay for her phone.
Yes.
You got to pay for this. Because I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar. I don't believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
I would never do such a thing.
Just a second. Well, the same person who would never do such a thing wrote to her boss that you were present when she called her boss and said, I can't come to her because I have cramps, and she was laying in bed with you.
Correct.
Okay? And that same person wouldn't show a picture,
No.
No. Okay, good. On your counterclaim, I am awarding you $5,000 on your counterclaim. From that, I'm taking off the $500 because he had no right to trash his phone. There are alternatives. One of them is not trashing his phone. Therefore, ordering on the counterclaim a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $4,500. Plaintiff's case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
She gets away with it again.
The judge is very fair. Unfortunately, he tried to make me look like the bad guy, but the judge can see right through him.
Did I show her videos? Yes, why she was being irate over there at Huntington Beach.
That he's showing sexual videos of me and him.
The nudes and all this stuff? No. Why would I do something like that?
I went black, and that's the only reason why I threw the phone in the trash in the first place, because I felt helpless.
She sold me on this great person and everything, but come to find out, you know what, this is not what it is.
I gotta just be more careful with their phone around.
I guess, Sarah, it's because of my generation. But I've been saying for a very long time, even before the internet, because, you know, I was, in fact, young at some point in my life, and they did have all kinds of cameras and Polaroid cameras back in the day. But never take a photograph of yourself or allow a photograph to be taken that you wouldn't like to see on the front page of the New York Times. And now with social media, I think that that's more true than ever. To me, why would you post anything or take a picture, allow a picture to be taken that might later embarrass you?
I agree to an extent, but I disagree with you that in this case, because the defendant mentioned that the plaintiff had taken some of this video and photo without her permission. And I think that now it can get a little bit blurry as to, well, I didn't approve my photo taken. Obviously, a sexually explicit photo getting sent to your boss is not the intended purpose of that photo. I think whoever sends that photo, misdirecting the intention of the photo, is the one that should be held accountable, not the person that was sending it in for a purpose of a long-distance relationship. There's many reasons why now people might send photos that they wouldn't want plastered on the front page of the New York Times. But as the recipient of a photo like that, you're
not supposed to republish it.
You have a responsibility, if you care enough about that person, to keep its intended purpose private.
I absolutely agree with you. But it is bad judgment, so I don't mind repeating at least my perspective, which is if you don't want to see it out there, don't take it.
Case 2067, Garcia versus Taryn. All parties, please step forward.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Taryn for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Miss Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name at the used car dealership that I bought it from.
Your Honor,
you know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Taryn, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I have proof that April Taryn purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
I want to show this to her. I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident.
But That's to, and
No, the person, the seller.
And I have my paperwork in my car.
Yeah, but you understand that that's
I understand what you said because it's right there. Yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car on the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were stopped. I didn't want to veer into here. I was slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
But
this diagram,
I find that hard to believe, Miss Garcia.
Your
I
Honor,
really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. She was making a left turn because the two cars there were stopped, and those were the only two traffic lanes there. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it.
What are you driving around in now?
1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl!
Amari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side. And while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car. And then she was cut.
Okay. And you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries. And I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed witnesses. The witnesses were in the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay, well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you were going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there. They looked at the physical evidence. They looked at the injuries. They looked at the damage to the roadway. They interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but
The police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making the left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was the witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes, both lanes. And I was
No, you said both lanes.
Both lanes paused.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was
But I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yes,
that's what
I'm just telling you. That's not what this is. That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic.
And
so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that, you know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Garcia, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car when I was 17, all my friends were getting these cute little cars, you know, that were convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go. There was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California, based on the California Highway Patrol.
Okay, no, I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which is $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually ended up, after the car had made impact with me, the bike went that way. I went up into the air.
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground. I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it. My legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
But it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and, you know, like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal. So she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk. So any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal. But if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal term that I could really stick to, but it says it's risky. We're acknowledging that it's risky. You have to assume the risk of lane splitting if that's what you choose to do.
Nanette Highland is suing her former neighbor, Sahara Carrillo, for vet bills after a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2042, Highland versus Carrillo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me your dog's name.
Faith.
How old is Faith?
11.
How long have you had her, Miss Highland?
Since she was 5 weeks old.
When did you live next door to the defendant?
Yeah, it was across the way, but...
It's across?
Yeah, my side of the door faced her side of the door, and there was a grassy knoll in between.
Do you have a photograph of the area?
No, I don't.
Do you? I'd like to see it.
That's mine, and this is where hers would be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is whose trailer?
Hers.
Miss Carrillo. Is there a street in between this area?
That's where hers would be. Right
Where?
there, in that area where the rocky thing, right after the grass.
Kevin, give this to the defendant.
Maybe
and have
this
her
one's
put
better.
Where the plaintiff's trailer would be.
Okay.
And where hers was.
This is where hers is, would have been, right here.
Just put plaintiff and show me where yours was.
Mine is right here.
Put it down. Let me see if that...
ये भी हो गया। अब इसके बाद ये करते हैं। ये भी लाइट ग्रीन हो गया सही से। इसको एक दफा दोबारा कर लेते हैं ताकि जो वाइट सा शेड नजर आ रहा है वो ना आए। इसको भी कर लेते हैं। ठीक हो गया। अब ड्रैगन की बारी है। ये पहले एक दफ़ा सारा हो जाए, इसको दोबारा से करेंगे। ड्रैगन की जो आंखें है वो रेड करते हैं। ये इसकी आईब्रो है, ये भी रेड कर देते हैं। इसके बाद इसके दांत ब्लैक कर लेते हैं।